there, and we'd like to appeal to each and every Ghanaian out there to exercise some level of restraint discussing this matter going forward. Let's respect the family. Let's give them enough room to mourn the death of the former president. Pretty shortly, we should be speaking to some of our respondents or reporters who are out there. Well, we're sending some to the hospital, some to his residence at Rage, and hopefully some to Sogakope, his residence there, to bring us up to speed with respect to developments in these particular areas that I have mentioned. And so the sad news is that former President, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, has passed on. We have a video from his last commemoration of June 4th here in Accra. Let's take a look at this particular video.
But for 31st December as well, which preempted a repetition of another even bloodier June 4th, because people felt betrayed by the elite and political leadership at that time. I have chosen to speak less and rather allow the force of observation and the pain of circumstances to serve as a stimulus in awakening all of us from the deep sleep we have fallen into over the past decades. We must be reminded that we are a country born out of difficult situations where some had to toil and shed their blood. The positive disruptive energy, force, and energy of June 4th was not a product of any political movement or action. The spontaneous eruption on that fateful day represented the unadulterated spirit of liberation that was collectively sought after as a nation on the brink of collapse. Nothing more has signified or exemplified the patriotism and resilience of Ghanaians than in those difficult moments. Many were those who sacrificed their lives and livelihoods in order to bequeath to subsequent generations a more just society with equal opportunities for all, irrespective of their religion, tribe, ethnicity, political, or educational status. We must never forget our past, nor erase the memories of where we came from. Commemorations like this allow us to ponder, reflect, and re-examine ourselves, our conduct and policies, and to see if these have properly been aligned to our core values of probity, accountability, integrity, and social justice. The difficult times we faced in the past that propelled the engine of the revolution is almost parallel in hardship with the present era of COVID-19. But the question is, do we have the same mental fortitude and integrity that would enable us survive the circumstances of today's trials? History, it is often said, repeats itself whenever we refuse to learn, most especially from adversities and volcanic and near bloody eruptions. Most of the speakers before me spoke very well, but I find that
So yeah, that was the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, addressing the 41st anniversary of the June 4 uprising here in Accra. We're going to go on via the phone lines and speak to Umaru Sanda Amadu. Hello, Sanda.
Hello,
right. Sanda, kindly tell us where you are and what the situation is at the moment.
And also office of the former president, now late former President Jerry John Rawlings. As I speak, party supporters are trickling in, trying to possibly confirm the news for themselves. High-ranking officials of the party, mainly even government officials, have been coming through here. I could see them drive through the main gate. The military zone that mans this gate, if you've ever been to Rawlings residence, have been giving strict instructions to prevent persons from entering unless they have a cause to leave there. Indeed, let me say that over the past 2 weeks, all staffers of the former president's office have been asked to go on a leave of a sort. So they have actually been out. It's because he himself has not been well. Since he buried his mother, since he laid his mother to rest, Jerry John Rawlings has not been well himself, and he has been on admission at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital since Tuesday. That is information we have picked up, and he passed on some this issue, and this was at the cardiothoracic center now. That's the fact that we have gathered so far.
But there, do we have the general public trooping in as you would expect, knowing the kind of person he was and how important he is in our political discourse?
Well, this news is just coming through now, so naturally people are now picking the information and they are moving in. So there are media personnel rising. I have seen a sort of reinforcement of military presence here. Deployment, so they are actually armed soldiers standing at the gate now to his official residence because of what you would anticipate. Of course, this is Jerry John Rawlings we are talking about, and so it is expected that this will be a very, very crowded place any moment from now. Parties have already started building up in front of his residence. Of course, you know that his house is just by the ridge roundabout, so there's traffic building up slowly. Because vehicles are slowing down. There are people who are just driving here just to see things for themselves. So it's expected to be a very, very, very somber but very crowded and very busy day here because of the personality we're talking about, the longest-serving head of state of the Republic of Ghana, Jerry John Rawlings.
Describe to us the mood there, the numbers that have already come in. Describe to us what their mood is. Well,
a lot of it is one of doubt. There are many people who do not want to believe the story, disbelieve, if you like. They've heard the story, they are coming here to confront for themselves. Until you will not see waiting yet because information is just trickling in. So people are mostly calling media house, tuning into the radio or television and trying to really confirm this news for themselves. Then others are moving in here. I believe over the next hour or two, this place will probably be crowded because Jerry John Rawlings, you can believe it or not, is the most charismatic leader in Ghana in recent times, perhaps the second after the Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So if that is anything to go by, you should be seeing more people coming here. But
hello, Sanda. Sanda. Hello? We seem to have lost Omaru Sanda there, but he was reporting from the residence, the ridge residence of the late former president, Jerry John Rawlings. He just mentioned that there appears to be some military reinforcement. Obviously, you would expect that numbers will triple. People would want to know or want to confirm that indeed this news is true, and so definitely you would expect people to troop to the residence, also knowing the kind of personality that he was. And so it is just right that there will be some level of reinforcement there at the house. But Bernard, earlier we just saw a clip of him addressing the 41st anniversary of that June 4 uprising, and we saw that new look he had put on, which he sometime back jokingly attributed to COVID-19.
Rawlings has always been an enigma. He's always been a show boy. He's always been one that has captured the imagination. I mean, I have emceed programs or moderated events where he's coming, even as a former president. And there are times when he comes, no matter what time he comes, everything changes. He has this presence with him. So he's been an as Umaru Sanda correctly said, the most charismatic leader we've had in a long time, captured the nation's attention. So, and to just leave 2 weeks after he buried his own mother, I mean, it's almost like attention grabbing from beginning to end. Yeah. All right, it's been a very, I don't know, I call it an evolution. Okay, from a soldier, military leader, coupist, and then he transitions into a democratic leader, president who, in a sense, gave us the Fourth Republic. Because again, if you listen to a lot of the people around him, he had to be convinced to do this. And then, if you listen to his last speech, okay, talking about democracy and how it's not necessarily helped us, he's been an enigma. But we've seen a softening of the man in terms of his comments about even our politics. The level of his the sharpness has come down a bit. He's been slower. He's been a bit more gentle in these last days. So for those who've observed, as Umaru Sanda also said, he's not been that well. And look, I've spoken to people who say, for many people say they are brave, but nothing really compares to. Sanda is back, okay?
All right, we understand Sanda is back on the line. Hello, Sanda.
Yes, no, before I'm back. Apologies, the line tripped there.
That's fine. That's fine. So you mentioned earlier that there was some military reinforcement, which is quite expected. But we would like to find out how accessible is the residence at this time.
Okay, so let me just say that it is not as though troops were deployed here purposely for this. If you know the official residence of Jerry John Rawlings, and also you know that it is always manned by soldiers. Now, a lot of them are inside the house, some are on the precincts of the house. This whole area is a security zone. You do know that the office or house is not far from the DNI offices. And so this is actually a security area, and so there are a lot of security men now. So a lot of the soldiers who would have been in the house have moved out of the house, standing at the gate, holding their weapons. This is, of course, something you should be expecting because, like I was saying earlier, if things continue the way they are continuing and judging the Rawlings by whom he is, we should be seeing more people showing up here. And it is people who are here just to mourn him. People who are just here to mourn him, who have heard this information and who would want to just come and confirm for themselves. The numbers are not that huge here because the news is still trickling in. Let me just move in and speak to one or two of the people who are here. This
go ahead.
Is obviously an NBC official, NBC member who probably has come here to confirm this news. Bill, give me your full name and then let's start. So this is Bill Hoglo. He works with the office of the NBC running mate, Professor Nana Jane Okwajiman. Bill, our condolences to you and your party. When did you hear this information? Tomorrow, not a moment to talk. So I was just on my way for some engagement. From colleagues, hoping to confirm more or less.
Hello?
I had to rush to the house because obviously we are blessed to have access to them. So we just decided to come home and confirm. How much of Rawlings did you know? What does Rawlings mean here? Well, this question, it's Rawlings is my idol. Is my hero, my mentor. I keep on saying that it was even because of Rawlings that I went to Master School, for example. He meant that much to me. And in my family, you have my big brother called Jerry, simply because of the Rawlings factor. And Rawlings is an icon.
It's an icon.
It's somebody I spent quite some time with, taking valuable lessons of life from. Also, learning from him the various things that have been right from the revolution up to today. He's been a father, call it a godfather. I'm one of those who call the Rawlings
All right. Hello, Sanda.
Coming after we just buried grandma. This is not. It's important you mention the burial of grandmother, his mother. We are picking up information that has not been the same thing with the buried his mother. I wouldn't want to speak to that. I really wouldn't want to speak to this. These are things that, even if I did hear anything at all, these are things that really are not confirmed. I do not wish to go into that. But, of course, losing a mother and being obviously the only son from that, side, it's not been an easy thing. I was just telling somebody that throughout the funeral arrangements and everything, he looked extremely strong. He carried himself, even to the last minute. I recall in Cheta, he even said jokes, urging us to remain peaceful as Ghana to remain peaceful. That politicians will come and go, politics come and go, but we should remain as one people. We should forget the political divisions. He makes mockery of a lot of things, even the essence songs and all of that. This is really not the way we would ever think that our founder would go. It's unbelievable. I'm still trying to come to terms with it. Victorian Assembly, that's Bill Obley, and he is with the office of the running mate of the National Democratic Congress, Professor Nana James Opoku's argument. Just coming to you.
The residence of the former president, now we can say late former president Jerry John Rawlings. I am in an adjacent property which also serves as a car park, and you've seen vehicles coming in, mostly vehicles belonging to media houses, also to party supporters and party sympathizers who have come in here to mourn the Rawlingses and actually confirm the information that is coming through. I'm going to take you out of this property now, so we go to the frontage of the residence, which also served as the office of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings. Now, you see in our shots the vehicle of his daughter's campaign, Dr. Zaneto Ajima Rawlings. Now, the interesting thing, former President Rawlings' residence is located in this constituency called Leklote, which again is occupied by his daughter, Dr. Zaneto Ajima Rawlings. We'll get to that shortly. But let me give you the picture of what is happening at the gate. Slowly the crowd is moving in. People are trickling in. Initially it was journalists, but now it seems that things are changing and ordinary people who have heard about this are coming through and they are moving to observe. Now there's a vehicle at the entrance, and this is typically what you're seeing throughout, where people are actually coming in trying to understand what may be happening or what may not be happening, and indeed they are moving through to confirm this news for themselves, which is a shocking one that is just coming through. This is City TV's coverage of the sad demise of the former president and perhaps founder of modern democracy, Jerry John Rawlings, who was passed this morning. We are told since he's laid his mother to rest, Jerry John Rawlings has not been the same. People are here and they really are just trying to take in the news as it is emerging, and it is really a difficult moment. A man who left power exactly 20 years ago is dying today. Strange coincidence that barely a month to the 20th anniversary of his exit from power, or the beginning of the exit of power, which is December 7, 2000, where he did not contest in the election, but after which there was a decision to replace his government, we are seeing an emergence or the exit of this same gentleman from the world. Jerry John Rawlings, very charismatic, very loved, and yes, people are moving through to see what is happening and actually to confirm this for themselves. I'll move through and see if I can talk to a few people. Mostly journalists. But hello, are you a journalist?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm a member of the party.
You're a member of the party. What's your name?
My name
if
is...
you could just go up a bit.
My name is Edward Achudela Seshim.
Yeah. Why are you here?
I just heard the sad news about the demise of our founder, so I decided to come here to verify for myself. And then from all indication, I can say it is true. The founder has left us, which is very sad. But what will you say? There's nothing more you can say.
What does it mean to you as a person and to your party?
It means a lot to me personally because I joined the party basically because of him, because he really inspired me, some of us, to join the party. So I really joined the party because of him, the founder. And then for the party also, we'll miss him because all of us know how he is. He's a very principled, straightforward person. He speaks his mind. People disagree with him. You agree with him. He speaks his mind, and we all learn from it. And the party will miss him greatly. The party will really, really, really miss him.
Our condolences. Let me move in and speak to a few more people. If I could just... hello, sir. My name is Umaru from City TV. Can I speak to you?
No problem.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Obi, Obuama.
Obuama.
Right.
Okay. Why are you here?
I came to the hospital with my mom for a regular checkup. Over the year, JJ has passed on to glory. So I said I will come and see what is going on in front of his house.
What do you remember of JJ?
A lot. I was in the secondary school. That was 1979 when he did the first school. So we were listening to commentary how it was going with Odate Wellington, and I did enjoy that particular coup. Apart from that, I also remember when the Cocoa and the Railway were in bad shape, he did a lot to organize people to bring this Cocoa and set up the railway in order. So JJ is a good man. What is it's unfortunate that at the end of his lifetime, the party rejected him. NDC rejected him. They just pushed him aside. That is the most painful thing. So if today NDC will stand up and say that I'm mourning JJ, they are joking. Because during all their campaign, everything, JJ was not involved. And it's a fact. So I don't know why NDC will celebrate JJ at this moment.
Are you an NDC member?
Oh, no. I'm a sympathizer of all the parties, especially MPP. But I'm talking the truth.
Okay. So you love Rawlings?
I love Rawlings as a person.
But you're not an NDC
I'm not an NDC person.
Okay.
So that's all.
What do you mean? What do you think his death will mean to the country today?
Oh, it's a big state, man. It was rather unfortunate that he just buried his mom some few weeks ago, and how do you call it? He just cannot enjoy himself, and he has passed on. So it's a very big blow to the country. We cannot keep on losing men like Rawlings.
Thank you for speaking to us, and condolences.
Thank you also.
So that's Obi there. Like he said, he's brought his mom to the hospital, and the Ridge Hospital is just here. In case you're not aware of the environment or the geography of this area where we are speaking to you, this is a Ridge residence and also office of the former president. It is this same property that got burnt on the Valentine's Day of the year 2010, which of course became a big issue some years back, but which issue has since been addressed. This is the same residence where he's been all these years. Indeed, the frontage of the house has a road that connects the Ridge Hospital to the main Liberation Road towards the central part of Accra. Now, it is almost like a building that is situated in the middle of these two important roads. The road that heads towards Adabraka from Parliament House, and also the road that is heading from 37 towards Accra Central, and then it is just by the Ridge roundabout. Let me show you a few more pictures. There's a military man who is trying to say something to the officers here. Okay, we do not know if...
So that was the host of Eyewitness News on City 97.3 FM, Umaru Sanda Amadu, bringing us live pictures from the Ridge residence of the late former President, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, who passed on earlier today, Thursday, November 12, 2020. In studio with me is the host of the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 FM. City FM, Bernard Affler. Now, I mean, we have all the words to describe the former president, but his charisma and what he stood for, probity, accountability, transparency, that he lived by even until his last day, and the fact that he was able to make mockery even of serious situations and even to switch and take a swipe at people who fell off the mark. And I mean, there's so much we could say about
this. This is a big story. This is huge, and the fact that a lot of people haven't even heard. So from Imaru Sanders' report, people are now hearing and moving there. So this is a big story, and it's going to color at least the next week or two, if not the rest of the year for Ghanaians. So it's a huge story.
Now, the late president is who you call founder of the National Democratic Congress. Now, that party's flag bearer now is on campaign in the Ashanti region. We understand that the news has gotten to him. We have one of our own, Ni Ayikwe Okain, with him currently. And so he joins us via telephone to give us the details of how the former president, now flag bearer of the NDC, has received that news. Good afternoon, Ni.
Hello, yeah.
Hi, if you can tell, if you can hear me now, tell us how the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, received news of the passing of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, and what immediate decisions or actions have been taken.
All right, so currently no one has officially communicated anything to the media regarding the demise of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings. However, when we go to the Ampunyase community within the Akropong constituency of the Ashanti region, former President John Dramani Mahama was on the phone. We don't know what exactly the call was about, but after every engagement with traditional authorities and ADDO, he tries to interact more the leaders. But that didn't happen today. So right after the Deba, he just got into the convoy and then we are moving. We don't know if he's going to suspend his campaign or go ahead with it. Currently, we are in a vehicle heading back to Kumasi. We don't know if he's going to cut short the campaign or not.
But then what he usually does, he did not do this afternoon after receiving that phone call. Is that what you're saying?
Can you come again?
What he usually does after addressing the chiefs and people or addressing the Deba is to engage the leaders of the community. Exactly. Are you saying that he did not do same today?
Exactly so, but that didn't happen today. And we don't know if he's going to cut it short or not. But we are sure that he has heard the news of the demise of the former president.
Well, you have been with him for the past few days. His mood in the past few days and now, are you able to gauge and make some inference in there?
I can't hear you clearly.
Are you able to gauge the mood of John Dramani Mahama, comparing it to that of, say, yesterday or 2 days ago during this tour, and now after receiving the said phone call?
No, so right after the thereby, he hopped into the vehicle. So we are currently in the convoy, and then we can't tell his emotions. But we're hoping to get down and then hear something from him regarding this particular incident.
All right. Thank you very much. Nia Ikwe Okaine is our reporter who is on the campaign trail of John Dramani Mahama, NDC flag bearer, currently in the Ashanti region. Now, he tells us that after receiving a particular phone call, what he usually does after a thereby is to engage the leaders of the community. But that did not happen today. Currently, they are in a vehicle heading back to Kumasi, and it is not clear what the next line of action will be. But let's bring you some details about this statesman who has just passed on. Jerry John Rawlings, born 22nd June 1947, died at the age of 73. He is a former Ghanaian military leader and subsequent politician, having served Ghana for 20 years from 1981 to 2001. He served briefly also in 1979. Jerry John Rawlings led a military junta until 1992 and then served 2 terms as the democratically elected president of Ghana. Now, Mr. Rawlings initially came to power as a flight lieutenant of the Ghana Air Force following a coup d'etat in 1979. Prior to that, he led an unsuccessful coup attempt against the ruling military government on 15 May 1979, just 5 weeks before scheduled democratic elections were due to take place. Now, after initially handing power over to a civilian government, he took back control of the country on 31st December 1981 as the chairman of the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC. In 1992, Mr. Rawlings resigned from the military and founded the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and became the first president of the 4th Republic. He was re-elected in 1996 for 4 more years. After 2 terms in office, the limit according to the Ghanaian Constitution, Mr. Rawlings endorsed his vice president, John Atta Mills, as presidential candidate in 2001, which the NDC lost, and then Mr. J.A. Kufuor became president on the ticket of the NPP. So this is a man who has seen it all when it comes to politics in Ghana.
It's a big figure in our 4th Republic. He's the architect of the 4th Republic in the sense that as a military ruler, his contemporaries in other countries did not do the same process, which he is credited for. And as I said, he's gone through our 4 evolutions: 79, where there was a mutiny, 81 to 92, under the PNDC, 92 to 2000 as NDC. Then between 2000, even in the post-2000, the 20 years after 2000, you can divide that into 2. Because you can say the first 12 years under Mills were a bit more active, where he was more in the public domain. Then post-Mills, from Mahama, his role started diminishing. So you can divide the Rawlings era into 5. 79 to 81, the mutiny, 81 to 92, which is military head of state, 92 to 2000, democratically head of state. Between 2000 to 2012-ish, till the time Mills died, you could say very active in the conversation, in the news, from the so-called boom speeches and all of that, till post-Mills. Somehow, Rawlings' last era, 8 years ago, from Mahama's time, his commentaries sort of came down, became more statesmanly, and we've seen a lot of that under Akufo-Addo as well. So you can have a 73-year-old life broken in terms of the active political life into 5 eras. And then, of course, as Bill Bogolo said to Sanda, the death of his mother has been a big one, because if you don't forget that he grew up almost like in a single mother home, because his father wasn't really here. So look, this is the closest person to him. Possibly by his wife and children, who we all know lived in Tema, very close. And if you read his own tribute and listened to his tribute to his mother, how disciplined. He got a lot of his values from her. And as Bill said, he's never really been the same since she died. And we've also known that, of course, 73 in an African context is a bit old. So it's a major story, and it's not surprising that people are just milling in there to the house.
Right.
You will see a lot of that by the time the day ends, where ordinary people just go to the house to go and find out what's going on.
Right. Let's go over to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and find out if the situation is same there. Kojo Ajiman is currently stationed at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Hello, Kojo.
Hello, Sufo.
Right. Where exactly at Kolebu are you, and what is the situation there?
I'm currently at the National Cardiothoracic Center of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. So the mood here is a somber one and a very reflective one. You see doctors in groups talking about this great man who has passed on. And information is very, very, very scanty. But what we have gathered from our sources here is that the late president passed this morning at the intensive care unit of the center. In fact, I've been to three of the offices of three of the heads here, including the director, all tight-lipped. They are not willing, or they can't give any information until they report to the presidency or the family members. So beyond what we know, we are not getting any information from the doctors at the National Cardiothoracic Center.
Well, Kolebu, we know, is one that we usually have patients around, relatives there to visit their patients. But do you observe the typical busy spectacle, or this is something that you can say has been occasioned by the death of former president?
Well, you could say both for the situation, because you see a lot of patients here coming to seek medical care. And then this situation as well. You see the operatives of the national security, people from the office of the president, and I'm just seeing some members of the National Democratic Congress, but I've not seen any popular figure amongst them. I've also seen some of the bodyguards of the late president just passed by me, but they are refusing to talk to me, obviously. Right. So the mood here is quite a somber one. We are not getting the information we need to put out there in the past before.
Right. And the health personnel there, what is their demeanor?
So they are all very sad. And those who are in the middle age, those who grew up to see former President Rawlings, those who, lived through his days, they are all reflective, they are somber, but then it has happened. So you could see them in groups talking about this man, former President Rawlings before.
All right, thank you very much. That's Kojo Ajiman bringing us some information from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital as to how the place looks like, coming specifically from the Cardiothoracic Center there. So, Bernard, late Jerry John Rawlings as a leader, his rule, and then coming into the 99-2000 where the NDC had to concede defeat. Let's talk a bit about that period. What did he epitomize for you?
Well, as I said, the evolutions have been different. So 79 to 81, he came in because of all the problems. And then he led a mutiny, and therefore he was young, and a lot of people were very terrified of him. And of course, that was just a short time before he handed over to Liman. Now, some people will say that they supported the first coup because it was not just a normal coup, it was like an outburst of anger. But then 81, 31st December is different, where Liman had not had a long time to rule and he came back. PNDC then brought all these people together. There are some who say he didn't really understand and agree with democracy, but somehow the leading figures within the NDC at the time convinced him for us to go for the constitution. When the constitution was in place, 8 years' time, he would no longer be president. So yes, he had agreed, some say reluctantly, we do not know. Clearly, after the 8 years, his first few years as a non-president was quite tough. Because you notice that if you read almost all the books and the writings and the reports at the time, his relationship with former President Kufuor was not the best. And that lasted for about 8 years.
8 years.
Before Mills coming in as well, he had issues with Mills. Some people thought he wanted Mills to be more aggressive in prosecuting Kufuor officials. We do not know. Don't forget that under Kufuor, his wife also was prosecuted but was never jailed.
Yeah.
Then you have the Mills death and then the post-Mills Mahama era, where you find that somehow former President Mahama and to an extent President Nana Akufo-Addo have seemed to have a better relationship with him in terms of, I would say, keeping him quiet, because a lot of people say Rawlings is like the person that you do not control, you unleash.
Yeah.
So once he's not against you, he's for you, because he is always fighting for something. So in the Mahama era, and particularly in the Akufo-Addo era, you haven't seen him make a lot of public comments about politics, except when it's June 4, where he makes comments. So he's gone a bit quiet. Some think it's age, some think it's because the current president, the former president managed him well. Whatever it is, this was you wouldn't call it a twilight per se, but it was a different tempo.
Yeah.
Okay, where you see, for example, the 70th birthday, we have this video we did where he was with his kids, wife, taking photos, the birthday party of his mother as well. You see a different side of him, more humorous side. When the Sogakobe disturbances came in, he issued a statement. So he was very selective on what he was talking about, whereas in the past, he would comment on everything. So we're seeing a different, some people actually felt that they were now beginning to enjoy him as a public figure.
Yeah.
Because he was being seen in a different light, only for death to lay its icy hands on him. Death being one of the eternal mysteries of life that nobody really has gotten a grip on. So it is a very, very significant development by all standards, because we have an election in 25 days. And the other point is that although he wasn't actively involved in the campaign, his wife is. His wife is a candidate for the NDP. We do not know what that means. We haven't. His daughter is a candidate for this constituency. So, whichever you look at it, I mean, I'm not going to say to affect the election. It's too early to say this, because himself is not been on the campaign trail. Now, don't forget that from '96 to 2008, Rawlings was arguably the most formidable campaign weapon in the country. Again, the insiders in both Obed and Ahoy will tell you that when Rawlings got on the stage, he electrified people. Even as an opposition campaigner, he was amazing. But of course, from 2016, even 20, he's reduced his role. So we can't say that because he's died, the campaign will be affected in this or other way. But it's very clear that people like John Mahama, President Akufo-Addo, will mellow their campaigning for at least a day or two. To pay respects with the family and before possibly continuing in the next week. So we are expecting a lowering of the political temperature between now and at least Saturday, because it's very clear that everybody has to stop and rethink. So we will see a lowering a bit, and possibly it picks up again on Monday. That's what we're expecting to see.
That is true, because regardless of what light you see him in, both leaders of the two main parties revered him in their own way. So obviously we will expect a lowered political temperature.
His relationship with Nana Akufo-Addo is very interesting, because Nana Akufo-Addo was one of the leading figures of the opposition to the Rawlings era. So but funny, when Nana Akufo-Addo gave his first speech in his house when he won the 2016 election, he mentioned some very key names. He mentioned Captain Kojochi Carter, he mentioned former President Rawlings, and thanked them. For a lot of NDC people, that was some sort of hint that Rawlings may not have fully been for Mahama, because for Akufo-Addo to single he and Kojochi Carter, Kojochi Carter being the head of national security under Rawlings, the formidable Kojochi Carter, that was a certain hint. And we see that in the Akufo-Addo government, Rawlings hardly says anything. Again, some people interpret that to mean that Akufo-Addo and Rawlings have become cozier. So, I mean, for those of us who are not very political and partisan, we don't see any problem with that. For former presidents to be more statesmanly and help whoever is in government to rule and to give them sound advice, we think that's great. But some people in the NDC, as you heard one gentleman say to Sanda, feel that he and the NDC had a bit of a rift.
They're falling apart.
He wasn't that close to them at the end. But I expect Mahama definitely to go to the House, because you need to separate Rawlings and NDC relationship from Rawlings and the personality Mahama, and Rawlings and the personality Akufo-Addo. So they have their own chemistry, which is different from the larger party. And again, there are people in the parties who love him, irrespective of what the party structure would think. That's why you saw the gentleman, he interviews, say he's an NDC member, he joined because of NDC. So Rawlings cuts across in terms of his relationship with statesmen and politicians, relationship with the institution of political parties, and his relationship with ordinary members of the party. So you would see a spontaneous outburst of sadness among ordinary Ghanaians. Because don't forget, JJ, Junior Jesus, okay, in Volta region, Yevua, i.e. the white man, he's very revered in parts of the country. So you will see a lot of this. Again, some of the work he did in the northern parts of the country, he's immensely popular. He opened up that part, UDS. So, in fact, if you look at the fact that in the last term of his government, if you look at his attire, he was always in the Fugu. He identified with the people. So you see, this will be felt in different places. This will be felt, and even in the heartland of Ashanti, which you could say was the opposition to his tenure. Don't forget, his wife is from Ashanti royalty in that sense. Okay, the daughter of J.O.T. Ajiman. So I'm sure even the Otumfo and all the heavyweights in Ghana would be reaching out now to the family, and then of course the condolences will pour out to the president of Ghana, because now it's a statesman issue. So you are going to see three levels: reaching out to Nana Akufo-Addo and the family, people reaching out to John Mahama in the NDC, and people reaching out to the president of Ghana. So the nation has lost a statesman. So in that sense, the president is the chief mourner. The NDC has lost a founder. So in that sense, the leader and the party will have their own. Then Nana Akufo-Addo, Rawlings, the wife and the family, immediate family, have lost. You could even argue that again, even the Volta Regional House of Chiefs, okay, because Rawlings is highly revered in the region, and he lived there. So you're going to have a lot of people whose itinerary have changed between now and end of the year because of this. Okay, so it is definitely going to affect activity, if not for a week or two. Okay, definitely state burial, definitely high-level international visits, definitely continental delegations, definitely a lot of reflection.
True.
And if any person epitomizes an era, you can easily say we had the Nkrumah era. You could argue we had the Achampong era in terms of length of time. The Busia era was very short. So you could say the Nkrumah era, we had the coups. But you will never be wrong if you say we had the Rawlings era. And that Rawlings era is from 1980 to at least 2000. Although I think that you can actually say 1980 to at least 2010. Because even with Kufuor being president, he was, because eras are not just in terms of who is leading. So if you are dividing our 64 years or 63 years into eras, there's the Nkrumah era, there's the instability of the 70s, because Rawlings' coup was the coup that in a sense ended all coups. So there's a coup era, and then there's the Rawlings era, and then there's a Kufuor taking over, solidifying the democracy, and then Mills Mahama taking it to the next level, and now you have Akufo-Addo. So whichever way you look at it, it's a major development, and I can imagine people calling, Googling from all over the world, people who are Ghanaian, their friends will start calling them, even from Nigeria. I mean, when the story broke out, it's a Nigerian friend, and it's like, oh, Rawlings, wow, I wanted to see him before I went, because he's the, if you have a photo with Rawlings, you keep it. Okay, because you can show it to your kids.
All right. So let's go to the Upper West region. Latif Mahama joins us via telephone. Hello, Latif. Hello, Latif. Hello. Latif, can you hear me? Well, it seems we're having some trouble getting through to Latif there. But we were discussing the impact of the death of former President Jerry John Rawlings, and we've seen how it will impact various, if you say, divides of the country. We'll talk about his impact from. We had wanted to speak to Latif and basically find out from the UDS side.
Yeah, there will be regional reactions.
Yeah, regional reactions and all that.
Because in the northern region, upper east, upper west,
now we have Savannah coming down. I mean, there will be reactions from all of them. Yeah. But then let's look at internationally who he was. Even after his tenure as president in Ghana, we saw him take some appointments, envoys, Somalia envoy on an envoy to Somalia to help stop the disturbances there. We saw Kofi Annan name him on some UN programs and all that. Let's look at the possible impact his death will have on these programs.
Big, because if you read both Obed Asamoah and Ahoy, they talk about how within a certain era, when any coup d'etat happens, a lot of the coup d'etat people in West Africa would come and see him.
Exactly.
Because Rawlings was that iconic. He was seen as an example of how to transition from a military to democratic rule. So from Sierra Leone, from the Gambia, from Liberia, they all came to him.
I understand Latif is back on the line. Let's get to Latif. Hello, Latif. Can you hear me now?
Hello. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Latif. Kindly paint us a picture of the mood of people in the Upper West region after hearing the news of the passing of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings.
Thank you so much. The news of the death of the former president is spreading here in the Upper West region like wildfire. A lot of people seem shocked about the demise of the former president. I went through the principal streets of Wa, and it's like almost everybody is talking about the death of the president. If you care to know, former President Rawlings is one who was loved by residents here in the Upper West region, to the extent that you have major streets in Wa, the regional capital, named after him. If you go to the various districts, it is not uncommon to see streets named after him. A lot of people are remembering.
It looks like we're having some difficulty with Latif Mahama, but he is actually reporting from the Upper West region, where he just explained to us that some streets in the capital are even named after the former president, and so the reactions definitely are going to come up. But before we went to speak to him, we're discussing in studio his international relations and of course the likely expectations following his passing. And Bernard, you were touching on some of the things he did after 7.
So he became this emblem of a successful transition from military to democratic rule. So that Ghana then for the 90s was used as an example that sometimes the 70s were very troubling years, and the 80s as well. Now don't forget that in places like Nigeria, a lot of their military leaders are still around and actively in politics. So his transition in first to democracy in 92 to 2000 and then the handing over to Kufuor was very key for Ghana. So a lot of people hold that up as an example because in some countries people have refused to go. Okay, so he's not in the same sense of a Mandela, but in sense of basically just going and handing over to a different party, and then Kufuor then handing over back to Mills, and then Mills, Mahama to Akufo-Addo. That's really set Ghana apart. And a lot of people feel that Fourth Republic, for the point of transitions, we should credit a lot of that to him. Okay, because if the foundations are not good, it's very difficult. I think with all its flaws in our constitution, he's contributed to where we are because we have had over 25 years of a stable democracy. And for that, we have to be grateful for him and the team around him for initiating it and for those who agitated for it to happen. Which is why he will be remembered in that sense.
All right. Latif Mahama is back on the lines. Let's talk to him. Let's have him bring us the mood in the Upper West region now. Hello, Latif.
Hello.
Yes, so you were telling us about how the people in the Upper West region have received the news of the passing of former President Jerry John Rawlings. Paint us a picture. What is the mood in the region now?
Well, currently, as I talk to you, a lot of the people are engrossed with grief and shock because most of them I spoke to indicated that they never heard about his sickness and that they received the news with great shock. I must say that Rawlings was somebody who was loved by many here in the Upper West region. As I indicated, you have major streets here in the regional capital named after him. If you go to the various districts, it is not uncommon to see some streets named after the former president. The former president, according to many, is remembered for his role in creating the Upper West region in 1986. Then again, his role in establishing the UDS, which has one of the campuses here in the Upper West region. Earlier on, I went to the party's regional office, and it was closed, but excuse me, I went to some of the youth groups centers of the NDC, and a lot of them were actually talking about it. I met the West Central MP, Honorable Dr. Rashid Pilfi, who was also sitting down with some youth group, apparently talking about the former president. A lot of the various radio stations here in the region are also talking about it. People are calling in just to find out what could have been the cause of his death. Remember, the former president is seen like a native of the Upper West region. Indeed, somewhere in 2019, he was named as a chief at the palace of the Wana. Right. So the people in this region identify with him. They see him as one of their own. And indeed, it is on record that Rawlings asked for a plot of land here in the region to build a house where he can always come and relax. And so the atmosphere here in the Upper West region is that of shock, is that of grief, and a lot of people are talking about the demise of the former president. I spoke to some former appointees of the former president, and one of them is the paramount chief of the Bully traditional area, ADDO, Brahma, who happens to be the longest DC during the regime of the former president, and he was actually devastated about the death of the former president, and he said that they are yet to come out as a party here in the region with a way forward with regards to the death of the former president. But generally, the atmosphere is in the state of mourning. People are calm, talking about it, and the party is yet to issue any statement or whatever about the former president.
All right, Latif, thank you very much for that information coming in from the Upper West region. Now, obviously, we're going to see or hear orders for flags across the country to fly at half-mast and all that. But let's focus on the former president's contribution to our democracy and how he helped to give us that international appeal even after serving his tenure as president. So
I think we need to just be careful. It's not just the democracy, because Rawlings overthrew a democratically elected government. Okay? So Liman was democratically elected, and Rawlings overthrew him on 31st December 1981. A lot of people felt that there was no justification for that overthrow. If you read the likes of ADDO Mensah, they write a lot about that. So it's, you know, a lot of times when people die, we try to remember just the good parts. But to be a leader in a context like Ghana, there's the great, there's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly. And I think he epitomizes all of that in different ways. But I think because of the rawness and the immediacy of this, we don't want to go into all the analysis. That's right. I'll read, for example, PLO Lumumba, one of the orators of our time. He's a Kenyan. He's just put on his Facebook page, "I am sad to learn of the demise of President Jerry John Rawlings, a good friend and a great man. Let's honor him by emulating his courage and candor. JJ also just never died, Prof. PLO Lumumba. Now, PLO, when he came to Ghana for the PAV and SAL lectures, I recall him saying he had to visit Achimota School because he had heard how it had produced a lot of our great leaders, including Rawlings. He had read so much about Achimota, so the team took him there. I remember a few weeks ago, his foundation was planning a conversation about Africa, and Rawlings was supposed to be one of the speakers, and they were trying to organize former presidents to speak to the African situation. And PLO Lumumba's sense of African history is very strong. And he says that Rawlings was a good friend and a great man. So as I'm saying, the feelings are raw. It's very fresh. So for now, it's the memory. I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion, the reckoning, the legacy. There will be time for that. But for now, Ghana has lost a significant figure. Africa has lost a significant figure who influenced a whole generation. I mean, there's no doubt about that, that between 1981 and at least the year 2010, this is how many years? 40-year period. Not 30 years. 81 to
2010.
A 30-year period. He was very, very influential. The 20, in fact, where he was in charge, he was probably the most significant West African leader. Because apart from Babangida, who had a long term in Nigeria, I don't see, I mean, there are others like Ayadema and Co., but in terms of the size and the impact and the recall, it's Ghana and Nigeria. And for that, you can say from 81 to the year 2000, clearly Rawlings was the person, he was the man. And he had very interesting relationships across the continent as well. He had a very interesting relationship with Brother Muammar al-Gaddafi, the Libyan leader as well, and with people in Zimbabwe and other parts of the world. So, I mean, even Fidel Castro, Yasser Arafat, they all came here. I mean, there was a time where all the leaders were coming because, with all our faults, Ghana is firmly in the African consciousness. Nkrumah's role in Pan-Africanism and all of that. So, let me just say that if you tune into any serious TV station in Africa, this will be among the top 3 stories.
Exactly.
Okay, so between today and close of tomorrow, any major African media house would report that former President J.J. Rawlings has died. That should tell you the
magnitude
of this, because for many people, Ghana, Rawlings is the name that comes to mind. So it's a big story. It's huge.
Very huge.
It is huge.
Very huge. But likely expectations from now till Saturday. But before we do that, let's go back to the live feed. Umaru Sanda Amadu is at the Ridge residence of the former President Jerry John Rawlings, who has passed on to eternity today. Umaru Sanda.
That is ongoing here at the residence of former President, now late former President Jerry John Rawlings, former president of the land, longest serving head of state of Ghana. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu. This is the Ridge residence of the former president. If I show you the gate or towards the entrance of his house now, people are gathered here trying to understand what is happening or what has happened so far. It is a sad story for so many people who are coming in to pick the information and confirm it firsthand. Earlier, NDC party supporters with their pickup vehicle came through here to confirm things for themselves. What is happening now is that the crowd is increasing slowly. The gates to the former president's residence themselves are still being controlled by the military, but inside the house, there is some activity, and hopefully we get the chance to go through and understand what may have been happening in there. Officials of the party are largely coming through to see things for themselves and hear first-hand information, what is happening or what is transpiring. But media personnel, journalists are here in their dozens trying to capture all the movements. There is a motorcade that is approaching. I do not know if it's related to this particular one, but it seems it is not related. Actually, it is related. It's a motorcade that is entering the house of the former president. We do not know who this would be, but indications suggest that this will be high officials of the National Democratic Congress who are arriving here. But the gates, of course, again, are being closed by the security people here who would be overwhelmed by the presence of media men clamoring for information, clamoring to speak to people who have come in here. More vehicles arriving at the scene, people who are coming in here, mostly sympathizers of the NDC who are here to mourn their party founder. Jerry John Rawlings served as president for 20 years. He came in through the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, AFRC, transmogrified subsequently into the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC, before, when he guided the country into democracy in '92, he merged with his National Democratic Congress party, which party has been the longest-serving party in Ghana, having served for 8 years between '92 to 2000, and returning in 2009 to 2016 for another 8 years, and is now in opposition. A party that ushered the country into democracy. The former president founded this party, has run this government for the longest. This is his residence at Reach. Recall, this is a place that was gutted by fire some years ago, nearly a decade now. That has since been rectified. He's been operating from here. And the information we're having is that he passed on this morning at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, although there's conflicting reports suggesting that he may have passed on at the University of Ghana Medical Center. We are still cross-checking information. This is the residence of the former president, and these are all people who were here just having to understand, or trying to understand, what may have transpired this morning. Let me show you a few more pictures while I try to speak to some of the party supporters who are here. Hello, you're a member of the NDC?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Isaac.
Isaac, what's your full name?
Isaac Kofi.
Isaac Kofi. Where are you from?
I'm from Aplau.
Okay, why are you here today?
I'm here because I heard that the Rawlings died, so I have to come around.
How did you hear it, and what was your reaction when
I
you
just saw it on my phone.
So you decided to move here?
Exactly.
Where do you live?
I don't live. I live at Onisaon, but I work around here, next house.
So you left to come and see what is happening. What does Rawlings mean to you?
Rawlings is a NDC founder. I know him, he do a lot for Ghanaians. Yeah. So that's what I know about Rawlings.
Okay. Hello, you're a member of the NDC?
Yeah, I'm a member.
What's your name?
I'm Tamim Yusuf Bawa.
Where do you live?
I live at Medina.
Why are you here?
I'm here because I heard the sudden demise of our former president and our founder. And
how did you hear it, and when did you hear this?
It was heartbreaking. I was listening to City News this afternoon. I heard that there's breaking news that the former president is passed on.
What does Jerry John Rawlings mean to you?
The victory has fallen for NDC and Ghana entirely. In fact, we've lost the democracy. Rawlings is the democracy of Ghana. He's the democracy of Ghana. Hadn't been Rawlings, us at this moment would have been in the coup d'etat. He ended the coup d'etat and then he brought us democracy. In fact, Ghana has a lot of lessons to learn from the demise of our former president, Rawlings.
Personally, what do you remember about him?
I remember I was born and bred in Lima. I remember in those days when he came for a cleanup exercise, he entered into it as a leader, and this is a role model. He doesn't sit and look at, he doesn't sit and ask to go and do. You see himself in the realm of affairs doing it. And Ghana has lost a leader. He is always wanted to be seen working, not only sitting. He's a working president type. You see him going to the offices unexpected. He made people to be working. And in fact, Ghana has lost.
Indeed, Ghana has lost. That's what he's saying. Let me move in, see if I can get a few more views and reactions to this particular issue. Let me approach this woman. Hello, madam. Can I speak to you? Our condolences.
When I saw you, I thought it's Edwiji when I came first.
This is Umaru Sanda.
Umaru Sanda.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you receiving this news?
It's shocking. It's shocking. Unbelievable. We can't control ourselves, so we cannot contain it. We only pray to the Almighty to strengthen us, for us to accept it wholeheartedly. The Lord gave and He has taken. If only it is true. Some of us are believing it is not true. We hope they will tell us that it is a dream. Let it be a dream. That is our prayers. Otherwise, He is a big tree, an oak tree that we've all been resting. Today, the tree is uprooted. Who will shelter us? Who will shelter us again? Who will shelter us again? Oh, Jerry, you kill yourself for Ghana. You kill yourself for Ghana. This shouldn't have been your end, but God knows best. We've accepted it. We pray for the Almighty to accept Him in His bosom. Jerry, rest peacefully. Rest peacefully in your Maker's bosom. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. We love you.
How and
we love you most.
How and when did you hear this?
I heard the news around 10:30, 11. I just could not believe it. I had a call from outside in America. I said, it can't be. They should give me time to confirm. I called. I was told it is true, Mommy. So I quickly changed down, started to come to the office. That is it. You cannot see. It can never be a lie. With the crowd around here, it can never be a lie. So we only pray for his body to rest in peace.
Mommy, what is your name and what was your relation with the Rawlings?
I've been with I knew Rawlings since 75 when he was a flying officer. We did sports together. We did the same events together. So I knew him before the revolution. And with the revolution, we've been together. As a kid, I've been with him. In the gutters, wherever he is, I'm a kid. He's our mentor. My name is Rejoice Ahiable. And I've worked at his office from the inception of the party up to date. He's our father. He's our uncle. He's our mentor. He's our everything.
Our condolences, madam.
Thank you.
Now, let's move through and get a few more reactions to the demise of the former president, the late former president, John Dramani. Apologies for that. John Rawlings, Jerry John Rawlings, who passed away this morning. And the news is still sending shockwaves across. And let me just move in and get a few more people who may have been commenting on this particular issue. Let me speak to a former deputy minister in the NDC administration, also served as a member of parliament, Honorable Rickett Hagan. You're one of the topmost politicians we are seeing here today. When did you hear this? How did you hear it?
I just heard it a couple of hours ago, and I didn't want to believe it. I've just come from, as you know, we are in a campaign season. I have just returned from my constituency, to sort out a few things and return back. And I got this news. So the moment I got it, I thought, we've had this news before, and I thought it's one of those fake stuff. And of course, repeated calls started coming through from places that you will have to believe that something is actually going on. So I tried to call family members that I know, including my own sister, Senator. Her phone was not going through. I called the aides who work with President Rawlings that I also know very well, including his personal bodyguard, and all the phones were not going through. So I decided to drive straight through to this place, only to come and find out that this time it's not a fake news.
As a young politician, what did Rawlings mean to you?
Well, I didn't serve on the Rawlings government. When he came in 79, I was actually a kid, secondary school boy. But we all know Rawlings and what Rawlings stood for, even at that young age. That he stood for discipline. He was against corruption, and he wanted an equitable society and all that, which he preached throughout his life. When I came into politics and came into government, became a member of parliament, that's when I started having a close relationship with him. In fact, he's a father figure, to all of us, especially to the NDC party, which he founded. But I had opportunity to have a very personal relationship with him since I became a member of parliament and a minister. And I used to spend numerous times with him here in various places, that he spent time, including going to his village home a few times to spend time with him, So there's a lot that I remember, the type of conversations we were having. I wanted to know about what informed the 1979 and all that. And he took me through a lot of things up to even the democratic time. So I've learned a lot from him. He gave me to some people, which we call the cadres, who were pretty much an embodiment of the AFRC and then PNDC, for them to educate guide me, because I had been out of the country for many years.
So give you a proper orientation. We media are not being allowed into the house. Yeah. You perhaps may have gotten a glimpse or possibly gotten the opportunity to go into
family meeting going on.
Okay, what do you know?
What have the house? I don't know anything about it. Of course, I'm not a family member. So until the family finish the meeting, I'm sure they will come out with some kind of a press release or a press conference to tell us exactly, what has happened. I didn't know him to be sick since after his mother's funeral. Last conversation that I had with him was here when we were doing the mother's 1 week. When he said that we haven't actually met for a while because we have these sessional meetings we do from time to time. And then he said that maybe after the elections, we'll sit down and talk, and that was the last.
Our condolences to you, sir. Thank you for speaking to us. My pleasure. That's Kweku Rickett Hagan. He's Member of Parliament, former Deputy Minister in the NDC administration. Let me try and get a few more people to speak to. Hello, sir. You're a member of the NDC?
Not really, but...
Umaru Sanda Amadu there, bringing us live pictures from the residence of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings. Now, his demise is expected to affect decisions, political decisions, national decisions, and even sub-regional decisions. Now, one of such decisions has been made by the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, whom we understand has called off his campaign tour of the Ashanti region. Now, my colleague Nia Yikwe Okain joins us via telephone to give us more detail on this particular development. Hello, Ni.
Hello.
So we understand the flag bearer of the NDC has called off his campaign tour. Can you confirm this and give us more information on this particular decision?
It is exactly so. The former President Mahama has suspended his campaign activity in the Ashanti region following the death of the former President. That is what has currently happened here in the Obuasi West constituency of the Ashanti region.
Right. If you can speak up a bit, tell us what was his itinerary looking like? How many more days did he have in the Ashanti region?
Can you repeat yourself? I can't hear you clearly.
Right. I'm asking that. Speak up a bit, but then tell us what the itinerary of the former president looked like prior to this decision.
Hello?
Hello, Ni, can you hear me?
Hello?
Ni, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right, if you can hear me, tell us what the itinerary of the former the flag bearer of the NDC looked like prior to taking the decision to end or cut short his campaign tour of the Ashanti region.
You mean the itinerary, if I heard you right?
Yes.
Okay, so today he was supposed to tour the Obuasi community, Afro community, New Edibiase, Adanse, Asopa, and then Asawasi will be the last community that he saw before the day comes to an end. But he started with Apunyase, which is within the Afro constituency, and that's where we presume that he had the information. But he announced the suspension of the campaign activity when he got to his second destination, which was Adansiman, Obuasi West constituency.
All right, thank you very much. Nia Ikwe Okainde is on the campaign trail with the flag bearer of the NDC. Now we have a video of John Dramani Mahama announcing the suspension of his tour due to the demise of late former President John Jerry Rawlings.
We just received some very sad news. It makes it impossible for us to continue this campaign tour of Ashanti. So I've spoken to our chairman of the National Campaign Committee, and the committee has agreed that we announce a brief suspension of the Ashanti campaign tour, and the national campaign team will announce a date for resumption of the tour.
Right, so that was the flag bearer of the NDC announcing the suspension of his tour of the Ashanti region. Let's look at from now till about Saturday, the things that are likely to happen. We've seen Sanda at the residence of the late former president. Who are some of the identifiable people who are likely to see there, and what are some of the decisions that are likely to come from there?
So it's very clear that, of course, this is just sudden. So, but certainly in Ghana, when somebody dies, people sit down at the house, because that's where the widow is, that's where the family is. So you would expect a lot of traffic moving into the Rawlings residence, where I would imagine before close of week, you would have for President Rawlings, President Akufo-Addo, and all the key political figures go there. You would also imagine that there are meetings already going on, because, look, Rawlings is a national figure, but there's also a family component. So the likes of Dana Bodakwi, who was a family rep during Rawlings' mother's death, will certainly be there with some of the key figures of the Rawlings household, organizing just to get people to come in, because as soon as the death occurs in Ghana, we say we've heard, so we want to find out. So you then have, and even no matter how big the death is, we still have to go through that process. So you would have the widow and immediate family sit down with the family heads, and then you have people come in to mourn, to essentially ask what happened, and they will come and greet, bring condolences, and then of course the family will start preparing. But because this is a statesman, you would have a joint conversation. So there's going to be a state and family conversation around what will happen, so that obviously the family will inform the state. The head of state will then obviously have his team working with the family to plan for things. But there will still be the family component. So there's the commiseration with the family before there's the funeral part, which the state would lead. So you are going to have that track going on. So you're going to see a lot of traffic into the Rawlings household. I believe it to be the Ridge household, which is where the wife lives, because there are other Rawlings houses. And then there's going to be indications of dates, because we have 25 days to an election. So they'll probably have to wait for the election to be over for the burial. We don't know. We haven't been told the full cause of death, so we also don't know what arrangements we made in that regard. But it's going to be centered around the Ridge residence, which is where the family lives.
All right, more details to come in soon, but let's go over the phone lines and speak to Fritz Baffo. We know he's a close associate of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings. Hello, sir.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Our condolences.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm going to put this up.
Tell us, how... Right, how did you receive the news?
And also the family of the late President. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I was asking how you received the news of the passing of the former President Jerry Rawlings.
Well, I heard it through the media, and then I went to confirm, and I heard it was true. Unfortunately, the office is now closed to all outsiders. I can understand it, but I heard it, and then I went to verify, and it was verified to me that my
how difficult or how much of a blow is the passing of the former president to you?
It's a huge blow. It's a very big blow. Because in the last 20 or 30 years, he's been a very important fixture in the life of myself and my family. Naturally, when he retired, we distanced ourselves a little bit, not as a result of anything negative, but he also had certain jobs that he was an ambassador for malaria and doing UN jobs and traveling and all that kind of thing. But in the last 2 years, a group of us have been working very closely with him in regards to the health and welfare of the NDC. So I've seen him on more occasions than before. Yeah.
Right. So what is the magnitude of the demise of Jerry John Rawlings, Africa-wise, and then on the international scene?
He's been a colossal figure in the annals of our country. At least he's been a very dominant figure since he appeared on the political firmament in 1979. He's played many roles, political, social, economic roles, as somebody who is a great influencer, to use the modern parlance now. So, it's a big blow, especially not only to his family, but to us in the NDC and the nation as a whole, because a lot of people in our country look up to him, all right. He has served very much in many ways as a conscience of the nation, because he's kept true to his ideals.
Right.
So,
now,
for us, it's
right. Now, there's talk about the impact of his mother's death on himself and the fact that he's not been himself ever since the burial of his late mother. What is the relationship in there?
Look, if your mother has been with you all these years and she was a centenarian, she was very much influential in his life in bringing him down to earth, and I think he learned the humility from the way his mother also lived her life. So, naturally there'll be an impact. I mean, everybody who's close to his mother and loses his mother is very, very seriously affected. But I think that when it happened, there was a lot of running around to do, I can't ascribe that to his passing away, but it must have had a very, very big impact on his health and his mental well-being.
All right. Thank you very much, Fritz Bafo, a Ghanaian politician and, of course, a close associate of the former president, having worked with him for a number of years. We're still here in the studios of CTTV. The news is that Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, former president of Ghana, has passed on at age 73. A number of things are expected to happen within the coming days, and we're looking at some of the likely events, especially from that of the family side and that of the state. And Bernard Avle is here in studio with me to look at the possible happenings from now till, say, about Saturday.
Yeah, so as I said, the death is, on a normal level, it's a family issue, but for the Rawlings we're talking about, this is now a state event. So as I said, there's the president is a chief mourner here already, so he's obviously going to be receiving calls from across the globe. Then Nana Rawlings, the wife, will obviously be receiving calls because she's the widow as well. And then the NDC would also be receiving. So it's that level. So, for example, you because of the social media era we are in, we are going to see public expressions of grief. For example, something like President Obama will tweet very soon and that type of thing. But you are going to see a state family coordinated conversation. You're going to see a lot of movement around the Rawlings household. It's going to affect the campaign in a way, because imagine if as Zanetto, you just buried your grandmother 3 weeks ago, and Zanetto is Rawlings' firstborn. And for all, if you watch when we visit the family, Zanetto and the wife are always, so Nana Kunedu is on the right, Zanetto is on the left. They are the two key people with him all the time. In fact, when you visit Rawlings in his office, officially, most of the time, you would meet as an editor because she is almost like the heir. So she's campaigning to be retained. So you're going to see a bit of the effect of that. We just got a statement from James Ajeni Boateng officially announcing the suspension of the campaign of the flag bearer of the NDC as well. So we're going to see a bit of a muting of the flurry of political activity, at least until after the weekend, where then we know our way to go. Because I can imagine people are moving to have meetings, there have to be discussions, plans, president has to be involved, they will appoint somebody from the office of the chief of staff because the state protocol is involved now, then you have the family, then you have the elders from the Volta region, and that. So it will affect the campaign. We don't know if it will mean that people will tone down a bit because, as I said, Rawlings has evolved. Okay, so maybe because of respect for him and the fact that we are all mourning, you're going to see a little bit of slowing down of political activity. We can't tell, but you can clearly see that it has affected, even in the video we just saw of Mahama himself. I mean, Aikwe describes that he was speaking and then he went on the phone. And after a long time, his demeanor changed, and you can tell that the campaign is over for today. That's what happens.
Then
so
you know.
You can tell. So it's going to be the big story up until even the election. It's going to be the big story because this is 3 weeks to the election. We don't know if it will affect the election in terms of outcome. That's something we cannot speculate. But clearly, as a dominant news item, if 2020 has been big for Ghana, Rawlings' death is the full stop. If it's the exclamation at the end, because COVID has taken a lot of people, things have been disrupted. Rawlings' death becomes the, we hope, that we don't, we hope it becomes the full stop.
Just as he ended coups.
Yes, it should bring the problems of 2020 to an end. Yes, that's what we're thinking.
Well, if you just tuned in, the rather unfortunate news is that former President, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, has passed on at age 73. Now, we've been bringing you different perspectives into the passing or the demise of the former president and the likely happenings in the few days to come. Already, flag bearer of the NDC has called off his campaign of the Ashanti region. We're yet to know what his next line of action will be. But then that is the current situation. Jerry John Rawlings has passed on at age 73. Social media is awash with reactions, tributes are pouring in. Let's bring you a few of them. This is from the Honorable Frank Arnaud Dompre. Says, my heartfelt condolences to the NDC and all Ghanaians on the passing of His Excellency, former President Jerry John Rawlings. As founder of the NDC and first president of the Fourth Republic, he will be remembered for his role in transitioning Ghana from military rule to multi-party democracy. Then he posted a picture of the former president and says, my thoughts and prayers are with his family in this time of difficulty. This one is from Vera Kwakofi, and she says, reports from Ghana says the country's charismatic former president Jerry John Rawlings has died. JJ was a larger-than-life character. He defined an entire generation of young Ghanaians, and love him or loathe him, his presence loomed large in all our lives. So many stories to tell. Let's move to this one. Sahara Reporters, tweeting at Sahara Reporters. Ex-president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, is dead. And there's a link to a story there with two pictures of the late former president. President of Liberia, George Weah, has also sent in a tweet and says, on behalf of the government and people of the Republic of Liberia, and in my own name, I wish to convey deepest and profound sympathy to the government and people of Ghana, the Rawlings family, and the entire Africa for the death of a great statesman, former president. And he goes on to say, Ghana, Liberia, and Africa will miss a great leader. Liberia remembers his immense contribution to the attainment and sustainment of peace during our dark days of our own history. That's coming in from the president of Liberia, George Weah. Now we have Ian Walker, he's the British High Commissioner to Ghana, also tweeting, and the tweet reads, reading news that former President Jerry Rawlings has passed. The time for reflections will follow on this towering figure of Ghanaian life. For now, all my thoughts are with his family and loved ones. May he rest in peace. The BBC News Africa has also tweeted, and it has with it a link to a story, and it reads, Ghana's former president Jerry John Rawlings has died at the age of 73. There's a tweet from BBC Africa. Now, Dele Momodu of Ovation has also tweeted, and the tweet reads, the saddest news of this year. My God, former President Jerry John Rawlings of Ghana has passed on. I am completely devastated. Good night, an African hero. R.I.P. And this one is from Nigerian musician Davido, and he tweets, R.I.P. Jerry Rawlings. And so a number of reactions there. Obviously, the tributes will be coming in from various corners, as is expected, knowing who the former president was. But we're going to speak to General ADDO now to find out how he has also received this particular news. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Our condolences to you. Tell us, how did you receive this unfortunate news?
Well, one of my sons in the house wrote to me, said that there was a report in the social media that President Jerry Rawlings, our former president, had died, and actually showed it to me. And I was totally saddened because the greater part of my active service life was when he was in power. And I worked closely with him. I recollect very well the days that we served together when he was head of state.
Right.
So I feel very sad indeed, and my condolences to the immediate family and to all our colleagues who served with him at that time.
Right. So how much of a big blow will this be?
Well, I'm sure all of us who worked with him at the time will feel very sad indeed. Because we worked with him during a very, very difficult time of this country's history. When even at one time, even soap to bath with was not available. We cannot claim that we did everything well, but it was a difficult time, and we sincerely believed that we were working to bring this country back from its downward trend.
Right. Major, can you describe your working relationship with the late former president?
I would say it was good because I happened to hold some key appointments at that time. I commanded the military academy, which is a key appointment I held at that time when he was in power. And of course, I ended up at Northern Command. I also served the United Nations at the same time when we were trapped in a difficult situation in Rwanda. But for his permission for us to stay on, I've left Rwandese in the misery in which they found themselves at the time. So I worked under very critical conditions.
Right. Obviously, a big blow to Ghana, to Africa, to the world as a whole. But personally, how are you feeling hearing this news that former President Rawlings has passed on?
Personally, I'm saying it again for the third time that I feel very sad because we worked together during critical moments of this country's history. And again, I'm not claiming that we did everything right, but we sincerely believed that we were working for the upliftment of the spirit of this country. He was younger than I was, but for him to have the courage to ask us to, I think it was something that we should give him credit for.
Right. Thank you very much, Major General Henry Kwame ADDO, who worked closely with the former president and under the former president. So Tributes are coming in. Social media is awash with them. Just like you said, Bernard, it's likely to make the headlines across the world in the coming days. And we've seen the BBC Africa already tweet about it. Sahara reporters have also tweeted about it. It's also going to dominate our local news bulletins. But how do we carry ourselves as a nation now? How should we respect the passing of the late president, knowing that he's left behind family, although he is a statesman?
Well, you know, some people are born to dominate the public sphere, and the way he lived his life, I'm sure his family is very well aware that even though he belongs to them, Rawlings belongs to all of us in the sense of his life and what he does. So nothing prepares you for death. Okay, nothing prepares you, no matter how much you read about it. You never know how you behave until it hits you. And as we've even heard some people say, even he himself, his mother, at 101, he was heartbroken. So it's a fair balance. I believe that having seen the way he's conducted himself in his final few years, clearly you say he bowed out at a time where he had a very positive coverage. Okay, if you look at the people, the caliber of people who commiserated with him during his mother's death, priests, imams, politicians, ordinary people. I mean, the size of the state funeral for his mother at the State House, or the funeral for the State House, that should tell you that he had gotten to a new era of statesmanliness. Arguably, his highest point in his statesmanship, which ironically had to happen with his mother's death. Because this was still within the COVID era, yet people physically went there. Don't forget that the COVID restrictions had meant we are only going to have 25, but it went to 100. But the size of the crowd that went tells you people defied that. So it's clearly going to be a major
we have that
story
on the screen now. That's the funeral service for Madame Agbotui, mother of the late former president Jerry John Rawlings. And just as Bernard was describing, this is how big it was. If you see the number of people and where they came from to help him celebrate.
Look, when you go to funerals, you'll be surprised how ordinary people would travel from the Volta region in buses. Okay, for funerals, sometimes you have to have a direct relationship with the person, but there are people who came on their own from different places because Rawlings' mother is dead. It's not as if Rawlings called them to tell them. It's not as if Rawlings invited.
Uninvited.
That's the power of the man. So you have ordinary people who came just because it was Rawlings.
All right. Bernard, let's go to Tefle now, where the late former president has a house, and let's go gauge the mood there. We have a reporter with one of the radio stations there, Freedom FM, and his name is James Aveji, joining us via telephone. Hello, James.
Hello, Nana.
Right. So what can you tell us about how the news of the passing of former President Jerry John Rawlings has been received in Tefle now?
Okay. Thank you, and good afternoon to all our viewers. I must say that, in fact, the news got to us via your network, City FM, during the prime news on radio. That is how we got the news here. And then we quickly got onto the internet, social media and others, and checked that the major news websites to ascertain that now when you come to town, I am currently at his residence here at Tefle Motorway, between Tefle Township and then the Kume community. When you come here, you could see some residents come around to ascertain facts by themselves as to whether what they heard on radio is actually true. I have been speaking with some security guards in the residence, and I am told that they have not till now, they haven't had any official confirmation from Accra yet, because everybody they are trying to reach on phone. Either their phone is not going through, or they are not answering the call to confirm officially for them at this residency here whether the news we are hearing is true. But speaking to some residents, it's a mixture of feelings. Some will tell you that they are just hoping and praying that it is one of those news that the media brings out and later on retrieve and say that it is not true, because they just cannot believe that Papa J, as he is affectionately called here, has passed on. Some people are around, but the rains are here now, and quite a number of them are finding shelter wherever they could find it. So yes, the news has come, and the mood in town is actually that of grief and sorrow. And his residence is just by the Accra-Aflao Highway, and so you could see some vehicles passing, also slowing down and catching a glimpse of the residences. Some asking loudly whether it is true or false, whether the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, has also passed. So it's a moment or an atmosphere of sorrow here in the place.
Right. James, can you tell us, are there those who are still doubtful of the veracity of this news?
Exactly. Some people are actually doubtful. I spoke to a young man earlier who he is around his residence, and he's been telling me that he's in fact indirectly their breadwinner, because every now and then he would come around to spend his weekend at his residence here, and anytime he's around, it is two things. Either their friends in the yard informs them of his coming, or if you go around the beach, sometimes you could see him actually jet skiing on the river, or his daughter, Jonathan Rawlings, usually does that anytime she comes around. So anytime you see any of the Rawlings jet skiing on the river, you definitely know that Papa J is around. Other things you could use to know that Papa J is around, he has some goons or peacocks in his house that sometimes if he comes around, he allows them to walk around. If you see any of those pets, you would know that Papa J is around. And anytime they hear the hint that he's around, they go there, interact with him, whatever good he brings from Accra, he shares with them. And the fact that he brings a lot of development around the area. The very recent we can speak about is the installation of street lights. Earlier, some 2 years ago, he installed street lights from Sademe, where the recent road blocking by the Western Togo line that happened. He has actually installed street lights from there to the lower Volta Bridge. So a new project is ongoing prior to the funeral of his mother. He has actually replaced the old ones with new ones. A project that hasn't ended, and that is the talk of town, that Papa J is bringing life back to our streets now that we are hearing that he is gone. They are doubtful whether projects of such kind are going to continue or it is actually going to stall. So a lot of memories people are sharing around about Papa J, as we all call him around here.
Right. You've mentioned a number of interesting things people looked out for to know that he was in Tefle. But how frequent or how often did he visit the place, and what was his level of engagement with the people there?
Okay. We know that his office is in Accra, and he usually lives in Accra, but every now and then he mostly comes to his residency here to spend a weekend. People around will tell you that he comes at least once or twice every weekend in a month. So he's almost a citizen or a native of the town, and the people have also accepted him as such. And now his interaction with people is one that it's very interesting, because if we around here hear of someone to be a former president, a person of his caliber, one we know him in the media or in the public space to be is totally different from whom we know him to be getting close to him, because he's one person who will love to interact with almost everybody that catches his attention. We have been getting the mood from the Sudan barrier as well as Dabala. And the woman has been telling me, who sells at Dabala, has been telling me that just 2 weeks ago during the funeral of his mother, he actually stopped by and bought Apollo and the small prices that they sell around. He actually stopped by to buy it money they had on him, he shared among them, had a joyous moment with them. It took the intervention of security to actually whisk him away from the scene. And during the funeral, we around here would continue to say that considerably a larger part of the funeral has been done here in Tefle, because when the corpse of his mother was moved from Accra, journey to Teta, he actually stopped by and had close to 2 hours of service for his mother on the main JSS Park. Right opposite his residency. That is where about 2 hours of the funeral has been held before the journey continued to Keta, with all people, walks of life coming around to also catch a glimpse of what has been happening. So his engagement with the community is one of an interesting and a unique one. When you come to his residence, where he shares boundary with the Volta River, back in 2010, 2009, thereabouts, we've had his personal initiative has decorated the whole bridge from his residency down to somewhere around Sope with sand. He actually got people to dredge sand from the river to beautify the beach, as well as plant coconuts on the beaches. And just recently, there is a project on the island right opposite his residence of a greenhouse project that is ongoing. The greenhouses have been installed, polytanks ready to commence activities on the island, which has also not started yet. So he has been very interactive with people. When he's just seeing, he gets to any of the banks that people are there fetching water, washing, they will sometimes slow down, give them a handshake, ask them in Ewe, how are you, how is the home, and all that, before he takes off to wherever he's going and comes back. So he is one of us. He has been one of us, or he was one of us, and will continue to be one of us.
All right, thank you very much. James Kwesi Aveji is a journalist with Freedom FM, one of our partner stations there, giving us that information as to how the people are receiving this. He mentioned that indeed some are doubtful. And interestingly, the things people look out for to know that he has come there. So love him or loathe him.
I was saying to you that Rawlings' death is 3 levels. So there's like state, there's the NDC, and then there's the family. And from what Kwesi described from even his mother's funeral, so there was a state house forecourt. Then on the way to Jelukope, Rawlings' residence at Tefle for 2 hours.
They stopped.
When somebody dies, they say you should come back home.
Yeah.
You don't want the person to stay. He doesn't have to stay off. It's like he has to come back home. Now, for a president, it's different because, in a sense, you are property of the state in a way. Yeah. So Mills was not buried in his hometown. But at least it tells you the level of seriousness with which the various groups have been affected. So he did 2 hours at Tefle before he went finally to the hometown at Jelukope, where there was another major event where he paid his final respects. So we are going to expect a lot of gatherings in different places where you are going to have different people coming to terms. Incidentally, it's funny, today my morning devotion was actually from 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul talked about death. Wow. So I was reading about the last enemy that will be conquered will be death, not knowing that maybe it was preparing me for this big story. I'm not sure, but it's been a tough year because 2020 has had, a pandemic that has devastated jobs, scattered industries, killed almost 400 people in Ghana.
Wow.
Okay, and now you have former President Rawlings dying still in this 2020 year. The year hasn't ended.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely, devastating is the word to use. Yeah.
Well, that's right. I think I couldn't agree with you more. But let's pick some reactions from the Central Business District of Accra, the general public reacting to the demise of former President Jerry John Rawlings.
It's really a saddening thing. I really love the man so much, and I'm having goosebumps all over me when I heard it. It's rather unfortunate that we've lost an important person like this. But what I want to tell each and everyone is that we should hold on to our peace, and then we should love each other no matter where we are, no matter who is leading us, anything. Let us love each other. And I believe love is everything. Love conquers everything on this world. I really remember that man very much, and I love him for who he is. Some end this in Kranibi if and the way the man was saying it in local dialects, it was really, really funny. That's one thing I really like about that man, yeah. And the way he accepts anyone who comes his way. I really love that man. I don't know whether the NPP, NDC, we've really lost someone very, very important. There is not a time to say because he belongs to NDC or any other political party, we shouldn't love each other. We love him so much. So wherever he is, may God be with him and rest in peace too.
I feel bad about the whole issue because we are not expecting it. And it's badly to all of us that we are entering into even an election year that this thing has happened to us. I just feel bad about the whole issue. Well, if I remember things that this man has done, he has done a lot. I can't count it. I can't even, I don't know what to say right now about the whole. He has done a lot to this country. Yeah, he has done a lot to us. Do we feel bad about the whole issue?
I remember him the time, revolution time. It's a very good man, and I like how he go around and. No, it's better than first time. Now things was not going well. By this time, if it's still have been going well, this time since they are going around, if something is not good, that is going to the right, make like this. But now it is everything's at this point. It's very painful. I heard the news. It shocked me. It's very shocked me. So, but everybody can die. So let's take it like that.
Rawlings has been my friend for years because he was my dad's friend. So I'm very, very sad, honestly. But he was a great man, and he actually has left a legacy for Ghana. Yeah, we'll miss him. Any fond memory you'd like to share? At least one. The way he talks, the charisma.
I'm so sorry about Rawlings' death. I pray God keeps his soul at a very good place so that when we all die one day, we all meet there.
I require to remember a whole lot of things about him when he became military ruler and then up to civilian rule. So, in fact, when I heard the news this afternoon, I was very sad. I was just reading it on my phone when you people came. So I pray that his soul rests in perfect peace.
I know him early part of 79 when he made his first, when they make the coup. Afterwards, he handed over. And then he came back again to become a democratic president, leader. Afterwards, before he has handed over. I feel very sad. And they will do all, it is something that has happened. God gives and God takes.
He was very honest to Ghanaians. Those days, security in
Well, those were some reactions from the general public there. So, yeah, obviously, everyone.
Yeah, you see, don't forget that for us, our politics, we see our political leaders in a paternalistic way. It's like our father, Papa Kufuor, Papa Rawlings. So, it's a cloud. And it's a vacuum that cannot be filled. I mean, even as a former president, you should look at his itinerary. You should look at the number of people who call on him every day. Daily basis. He had an office. Okay, so any significant thing you do, if Rawlings throws his influence behind it, you get me, it's important. So it's a huge loss. It's a massive, I call it the end of an era, okay, because he's a towering figure in Ghanaian politics. Exactly. He stands tall in terms of charisma, in terms of impact, in terms of name recall, in terms of influence. So it's a huge loss. Again, there are a lot of young people who he's the first president they met, okay? I mean, I was born in 1981, okay? So he's actually the first president that I became politically conscious of. And there are lots of people like that if you look at our population pyramid. So it's a massive loss to the country, and it's a time of reflection as well, because you need to reflect on the Rawlings years. What does that mean? Where are we as a country? Where do we go next? Okay, so look, for now, the only thing we have is memories, and we must let those memories help to reshape where we are going.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a time of reflection for the next few days.
Right, indeed it is. Now, we have a speech from the late former president during the funeral of his mother, possibly the tribute to his mother, the late Madame Akpotui. So let's take a look at that speech.
The various kinds of assistance, help, let go, in various ways, various forms. Government including state assistant variant. Opposition words will never be enough to say a big thank you for healing our lives. For being a power, that to another peace that prevails is one way of also thanking. And that is my duty, that is our duty and our responsibility. And then just one more point. Madam Kukunami, cemetery Ayimiala, Malolo, it's a very tiny little place. At the LNG, there will always be the opportunity. Let me invite visit your gravestone. Yeah, we just need a family. Not because of any special reason. It's just that I'm a fumata, but we can do that from tomorrow onwards. You have Nesagomanami. If I Miga, Jonafia, Aplo, Aguado, Apro into the cemetery. Yes,
Jerry John Rawlings.
So yes, that was the late former president, Jerry John Rawlings, speaking there, basically thanking the people and then asking that not all of them follow to the cemetery. Later, they could all meet together as one big family and, of course, mourn his mother then. But we have a statement from the presidency announcing the death, officially announcing the death of the late former president. And quickly read through it. You see the coat of arms up there, symbolizing, of course, the seal of the president, and titled President Akufo-Addo announces the death of former President Jerry John Rawlings. It is with great sadness that I announce to the nation that the first president of the Fourth Republic, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, has joined his ancestors. This tragic event occurred at 10:10 a.m. on Thursday, 12th November 2020 at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where the former president was receiving treatment after a short illness. I convey the deep sympathies of government and the people of Ghana to his wife, the former First Lady, Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman Rawlings, the children, and family of the late president in these difficult times. I have directed that all national flags shall fly at half-mast for the next 7 days in all parts of the country and have declared 7 days of national mourning from Friday the 13th of November to Friday the 20th of November. In honor of the memory of former President Rawlings, the Vice President and I have suspended our political campaigns for same period. Government will work closely with the family of President Rawlings on the arrangements for a fitting state funeral for the late president and will keep the nation informed accordingly. A great tree has fallen and Ghana is poorer for this loss. May his soul rest in perfect peace in the bosom of the Almighty until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall meet again. Amen. And this is signed Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic. So yeah, Bernard, just as we discussed earlier, the various angles from which this...
It's official now. It's official now because he is a former head of state. And I credit Nana Akufo-Addo, his writing is very clear. Yeah. So he announced, he mentioned the time of death, and then he's declared 7 days of mourning.
Flags to flat, half-mast
campaign suspended. Then he says he's working with the family. So because in Ghana, when somebody dies, the family then comes into the picture. So it has everything. And to think that this happened at 10 a.m., we broke the story around 12:30 because there had to be checks done.
Exactly.
President was informed and he had to stop his campaign and put this very well-written statement together. And then you've seen also Mahama put his statement together, a short suspension of campaign. So this is actually, it has the elements of where we are with this. So it is a big story. And I can only imagine the level of activity around the Rawlings household because there's been also different teams around him. So from the Victor Smith group, then there's the Kofi Adams group, then now there's a new team around him. So it's almost like three
different teams.
Yeah, so there are a younger group around him now working with him because they're very busy itinerary for a former president in a place like Ghana. I mean, so it's a major development, and for the next 3 or 4 days of our news cycle, this is the only story in Ghana. I think the election even is on a back burner for a few days because this is the first president of the Fourth Republic. He's ruled Ghana for 20 years. I mean, that's unbelievably long. So we will probably never have somebody, it's almost impossible with our democracy now to have anybody who will dominate the landscape like Rawlings has in the foreseeable future. So it's, and the way he's written the statement tells you that he is the official announcer. So if you see the obituary, his name will be the first. The president, he is the chief mourner. Before even the head of family. Again, in the short video, so than Abu Dhabi and co. So there's going to be a lot of National House of Chiefs are going to have their meetings. There's going to be a lot of. It has to be befitting to represent his era. As you were speaking, the Speaker of Parliament also put out a short statement. Basically sending the commiserations of the leadership of Parliament also coming in. So you're going to see different groups emerge with statements like this. So flags fly half mast, 7 days of national mourning, campaigns suspended. The mood has changed, the tone has changed. I just hope it leads us to a more reflective election, because sometimes the way we go about our politics is very, very rancorous. But sometimes when somebody dies, I mean, to see President Mills die as president. It forces you to think about a lot of things. And I just hope that what he could not do in life in uniting Ghanaians, hopefully, because of the times we are in, it will lower the political temperature, help us to think of where we are and see what is common. Again, elections, we highlight what divides us. NDC, MPP, tall, short. But we all share a common humanity. We all share a common fear. We all share a common aspiration. And this is the forming of our nation. Okay, so the founder of the Fourth Republic, the lead architect, is dead. It needs to force us to think about our state so we can improve, so that our children will inherit a better Ghana than the Ghana we met. So I think it's a great
statement from the president.
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I think it also brings an end to the speculation.
Exactly.
Because the way social media, people are thinking, oh, the media says Rawlings is dead. So the president, in less than 2 hours, has written a full statement,
officially to confirm it.
So now it's clear that this has happened. So now you're going to go through the various stages of mourning, depending on your level of relationship with him. And then you're going to have the reckoning. And then we'll think about what to do next. So he's given us a week to think, and we thank the president for that.
Well, in the Fourth Republic, we've seen a number of, if I can put it, big deaths.
Yes.
We've seen members of parliament, that of a vice president, Pakwesi Bekwai, Emisa Arthur, Aliu Mahama. We've seen Prof.
Mills.
JEA Mills. Now that of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings. We've seen how the burials were put together for all these names that I've mentioned. But Jerry Rawlings, we expect to see something different.
Well, I mean, the Mills death was unique in the sense that a sitting president dying has never happened. And this was July of 2012, an election year. I think Ghana's political elite showed exemplary maturity in the way they managed that transition. By evening, Mahama had been sworn in. And the whole organization around the death of Mills was very exemplary in terms of our Fourth Republic. And I think we need to commend the government at the time for the way they managed the whole process. It also affected the campaign in a sense that it was more muted. It wasn't as rancorous as the 2008 campaign. Okay, but this is not a sitting president, so it's different. But clearly, we have built institutions that have a memory of what to do. And even though we are living within a time where we feel that a lot of things don't go right, I think we need to be grateful that there are certain things in Ghana that work well. That sense of decency is there. The sense of understanding the importance of death and how to talk and conduct yourself is still there. Okay. Whether the democracy is delivering for the people is a different conversation. But I think that this statement has set the tone for what's going to be a very professional period of managing. The only thing we don't know is that because the election is in just 3 weeks, there will definitely, so the 7 days of mourning is even significant because 7 days of mourning means you are returning to campaign on 20th. That means you have 10 days in November and then 6 days in December. So you have literally 2 weeks of campaign. Okay. Now, if you haven't put your message across, you haven't toured the country before today, you have just 2 weeks to do that. So clearly, it's going to affect the campaign in a very significant way. Not necessarily in one direction or the other, just in the sense of the level of political activity.
Right. Well, let's go back to the Ridge residence of the late former president, Jerry John Rawlings. Umaru Sanda Amadu is there. Let's get some live pictures from there.
Hello, coming to you again from the Ridge residence of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, who has passed away. And the crowd keeps increasing here, mostly dominated, though, by journalists who have come here to have first-hand information of what is happening. The family members of the late Rawlings, though, are locked up in that house where we are told there's a meeting happening. No communication has been given to us by any member of the Rawlingses as yet. All we know is that some of them have come in and they are meeting in there. The candidate and member of parliament for this area, Dr. Zanetta Rawlings, his daughter, of former President Rawlings, we are told has arrived. Nana Konido Rawlings, the former First Lady and spouse of the late former President, we are told is also in that particular meeting. Now, lots of senior members of the NDC have been coming in, and so are members of the NPP and even members of the government, because he is a statesman. Indeed, the man who represents the NPP in this constituency, the parliamentary candidate, has also just come here. Did you have to suspend your campaign to come in here? How did you hear this news? If you could just look at my camera for me.
Yes, we just left the CMB market, campaigning there, and then we also went to Adabraka Central Market, Central Mosque area, where we are having a health screening and national health renewal. And then somebody whispered in my ears that JJ is gone. I didn't take it seriously. You know, Ghanaians, people talk, so I just continued campaigning. And until we went to one house, and then people were in a beer bar, and they were all very quiet, watching the TV. And then I saw the breaking news: J.J. Rawlings dies at 73, and that is when the news hit home that this is real. A great statesman is gone. And so when we came out of the house, I told my team that we cannot continue with the campaign again. We need to get closer to the Rawlings family and express our condolences and our sadness at the turn of events. As you may know, I think you've interviewed me twice, I'm contesting the daughter, and his image looms large in the background. So I know down the stretch he's going to show up, and we'll try to whip up support for his daughter. I'm expecting that. This is not what I expected. And so we are very disappointed by the turn of events. And we came here to show our respects to a great statesman, a man whose life and personality and ideas has informed our Fourth Republic. It is the longest republic we've had so far. It's 28 years and still going. And we believe that, or we pray for a good repose of his soul by the good Lord. And that is why we are here today.
Have you been able to have access to any family member yet? Have you been speaking to the daughter, for instance?
And the security people informed us that the family is not yet in. So we have to wait for the family to come. I'm told Senator herself is there, but she's not a family. You know, in Ghana, by law, once somebody drops, it becomes a property of the family. And the children are not the ones to receive visitors or mourners. And so we respect the decision of the family or the people there to wait for the family to be seated before we came in and greet.
So have you suspended your campaign, or you?
Yes, we have suspended our campaign for the time being, and we will do what is needful. In Ghana, we don't hold death against anybody. We don't jubilate even at the death of our enemies. How much more a great statesman like J.J. Rawlings. And so, out of respect for the Rawlings family, and as Ghanaians, we have suspended our campaign for the next 3 days. And if it has to go 1 week, we will do it. I'm also waiting for directions from my party, and I believe the NPP will also come in and show our respect to this great man as we move forward into the 2020 campaign.
Thank you for speaking to us. That's Prince Deborah, the NPP parliamentary candidate for Korle Klottey constituency. Indeed, he is contesting Dr. Zaneto Agyeman Rawlings, who is the daughter of the man who has just passed on, former President Jerry John Rawlings. Many party supporters are coming through here. Many people who are coming here to share their condolences and wish the family their condolences, or say to them that they're sorry for the loss of their family member. Indeed, the thing with Jerry John Rawlings is that he is known by so many people. There are many people who may have grown under his administration who do not know any president until recently when there was a change of power. Many more NDC sympathizers are driving in here. Others have already come to pay their respect, to confirm the news and also to sympathize with the family. Media men are busily trying to pick as much as they can from the various people who have been coming here. Supporters have been here. Let me go and speak to someone who has been a minister in the Rawlings administration. Hello, sir. My name is Umar Osanda. Okay, I'm confirming your name, Nyama Donko, isn't it?
Samuel.
You worked with Rawlings?
Yes, I did.
As a what?
First, I worked under him as a district coordinator and organizing assistant for PDCs and WDCs and then CDRs. Then later on, I became a member of parliament for New Jabba North. But I was the first MP for New Jabba North.
Do you remember the first time you met Rawlings, what the circumstances were?
Well, the first time I met him was when I met him at the State House. There was a conference of PDCs and WDCs, and he came to address us at the State House. That was way back in the 80s. That was the first time. Then subsequently, when I became a member of parliament, we started having series of meetings with him.
And you served as his minister?
And then later on, I served as a deputy minister. He appointed me as a deputy minister for health.
Okay.
And later on, he made me the substitute minister for health.
Okay.
And the Ashanti regional minister under him.
I see. What did Rawlings mean to you as a young person at the time in politics?
For me, Rawlings was an institution for me. He stood for so many things. He showed leadership. he showed integrity, and he showed compassion. But every leader must make sure, apart from the fact that you are motivating and inspiring people to achieve set goals and targets, you must show compassion. That is not about what you are doing for the people alone, but you must show compassion. Because he showed compassion, and above all, he displayed and showed integrity. That no matter what you do, the best thing and the first thing or principle of value you must uphold is integrity. That's what I learned from him.
What does his loss mean to the NDC, first of all, and then the nation?
I think this nation has lost a great hero. We were privileged to have some past presidents. And the Fourth Republic, he was the first president of the Fourth Republic. Indeed, he was the one who helped to nurture and establish the Fourth Republic. So I must say he's the father of the Fourth Republic. And today he's no more. So it's a big blow to this nation as far as our constitutional arrangement and administration is concerned. So it's a loss. It's a national loss.
As a party?
And as a party, he was the founder. He was the founder of our party. You know, we are all human beings. We are mortals. And therefore, we cannot lay claim to infallibility. So he might have his ups and downs. But then he's the one who gave us this party. And we are always forever grateful to him. So it's a loss not only to the family, to the nation, but also to the party, NDC, as a great Akatamanso party.
Thank you for speaking to us. That's Samuel Niama Donko, former minister in various portfolios, deputy minister and minister under the Rawlings administration. The point is that there's a lot of somberness here at the frontage of the official residence of or private residence of former President Jerry John Rawlings, who was passed on. Looking at the camera crew, it is indeed it is a news that was not expected, but of course that makes it news. And so many people are coming in, understanding the house itself is becoming gradually a center of attraction for many party supporters who have come through. There are some women sitting at the frontage. Let me see if I can speak to hear what it is that they are saying. Hello, ma. What find Nyele Rawlings?
Oh, Papa Jay, Ninle Kadede one Bafi and Nine Eku. A teleton, the Baheda, and Warrior GNTC. That is in one like an Amdan militia. But then to not show me, Jim, my men's mamma, be a name of family, my men's, I should buy then to Mary Mills. Mills to Atta Mills.
Oh, Baba, what was it? Oh, what I was showing you. We are in a bit this one, Shabby. What Baby Sika, Baby Sika, you go on city. Oh, me Papa, you remember baby Papa would do. You remember baby Papa would do. I brought Raura, I see Jaura. You remember baby Papa would die. Oh, Baba, oh, JJ. Why? He doesn't know. Why that did not share what neither she can say? Nadina share what neither Sako. Oh, Taraburka Mukenanga. Taranamuka with Jerry. Oh, Yadu Badio. Jaruwa Shami. Me Area Washami. Me Baba Chabiska. Coswitty. Eba Jawai. Aja Eba Kawati. We see no Papa. Oh, be Papa. And we are welcome. What about Chabi? Oh, Asujauro. Oh, what do you Mammy Tiako? What do you Mammy Tiako? Oh, Papa.
So these are scenes. Let's get a few more scenes. Hello,
Instead, baby, your program has seen who said, of the action the first leg. Is it Jerry? You see a Minjindi. We don't feel the same enemy who said TV sister. I'm passing Jerry. Let me say that Jerry won't go to Minjindi. As I'm about to have a shot and partner. I never go to say, Jerry, no, I am former soldier. I don't know you're here to move on to go 37. And you got I'm a partner who go. How many months in there? And no one month to boy. I tell you what I don't think never say, brother. And yes, I pass some pastor Jerry. Yamibakasa, Sanya Yamibach.
The scenes here at the residence of Jerry John Rawlings. Let me. Okay. Hello, can I speak to you?
We cannot talk. That is why we are here. So,
okay. So how related are you to Mr. Rawlings?
Well, you know, I'm from Anglo, and our daddy has worked with him before, and we're all in barracks, so we know him very well. He's been coming to the barracks when we were in childhood. So Jerry has been a father to all of us, and he has been someone you can trust. You know, he speaks his mind. That is Jerry for you.
What's your name?
I'm Emefa.
Your full name?
Emefa Auku.
We are sorry for your loss and our condolences. So these are scenes here at the at the frontage of the residence of Jerry John Rawlings. Indeed, the security will be having a tough time here trying to prevent people from coming in. And I can see a bus conveying military personnel arriving here. I do not know. Of course, this perhaps is supposed to reinforce security here. It's a bus that has both police and military people. Meanwhile, in the compound itself, there are several military people. Because remember, Jerry John Rawlings was a soldier. And so the soldiers may as well be taking over a lot of these activities. He's not just a former soldier, but also a former head of state of the Republic of Ghana, longest serving president of this country. And that should explain perhaps why the soldiers keep coming through. They really are going to be having a lot of tough time trying to prevent people from coming in. But Jerry, as we know him, is described generally as a man of the people. And the old ladies who are sitting in front of his house are saying that they come here. There's a woman who just said that she comes here whenever she needs medication. And she was here the day Rawlings' house got burnt. And well, more people are coming in here. What's your name?
I'm Harriet.
Can you lower your radio?
Sorry?
Can you lower your radio?
I'm mourning.
You're mourning with... you know him?
I know him.
Have you been close to him before?
Yes.
What's your name?
I'm speechless.
That is, well, someone who is just driving past and having to stop to say that, well, she's mourning, and it is really going to be a difficult one here, trying to prevent people from coming through to mourn the late Jerry John Rawlings. More vehicles from the security side are arriving. I do not know if these are also going into the house. It seems these are also coming into the house. More security deployment to the house as they try to maintain order here. It is a big day. It's a big loss for Ghana. Jerry John Rawlings, strong man, Jerry John Rawlings, former president, served for 20 years as head of state, dies 20 years after his exit. Police people deploying from their vehicles as they also arrive here. I'm not sure what the strategy would be, but it will clearly be an intent to maintain order here as the scenes get a bit tense. I'm not sure if the road will be blocked, but well, this is what is emerging. These are the pictures we have for you. This is still City TV's coverage from the residence of former President and late President now, Jerry John Rawlings, who passed away at the in the early hours of today, confirmed by multiple sources. And all these people here have come to confirm, first of all, commiserate with the Rawlings family. And the crowd is growing. Of course, it's Jerry John Rawlings.
So that was Umaru Sanda Amadu bringing us live pictures from the residence of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings there. Now, as you saw in your shot, security has been beefed up because obviously we're going to have sympathizers from the residents to sympathize with the family, to express their condolences and all. Now, what we know so far is that the former President Jerry John Rawlings indeed has passed on. This has been confirmed officially through a statement by His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo. And in that statement, he tells us that the death occurred at 10 this morning, 12th November 2020. Earlier, I was looking at the various angles, the likely impact, and of course the pain that will be felt worldwide owing to the demise of the former president. I was doing that with the host of the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM, Bernard Afle. Now I have been joined by Selom Adonu of City Newsroom, and he's going to help us continue with the rest of our program, a special coverage on the passing of the late former president Jerry John Rawlings. So, Selom, how did you hear the news? Where were you when you heard it? And then, of course, the people around you, what was your reaction as well?
Well, I mean, the news hit me so hard, maybe just like any other person. So when I heard it, I thought it wasn't true. I think I was just coming out of court at the time and quickly decided to run our checks. And just when we heard it, City News also confirmed it. Yeah. And I did a further check by speaking to a friend of mine called a gentleman, or his brother also, who works in his office. And he also confirmed that. So that confirmation from that source, and together with City News' confirmation, for me meant that was the truth. And so we had a situation on our hands. The former president, the iconic J.J. Rawlings, the man that we grew knowing, because we did not, those of us, the younger generation, we did not live in a time before his presidency or the time that he became head of state. So all we knew from, I mean, when we were born till the early 2000s was J.J. Rawlings. And so to hear that this man was no more was quite a heavy blow to take. And of course, we hear he was sick for about a week or so. But the fact that we did not hear that he had a protracted, like he had been ill for a longer period, for us to even prepare our minds towards this, I mean, even made it more painful. So yes, very sad news. Flag Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings is no more. And interestingly and coincidentally, yesterday we were discussing on Voters' Diary, the stronghold of the NDC, the voter region, and we got to a point
where we had to name influential personalities in the region who influenced the decision-making of the people in the region, in respect of their political choices. And J.J. Rawlings featured quite prominently, and we said that he was the singular, if you like, most powerful person in the region whose views were taken very seriously, and the fact of his personality could sway a lot of people. So it's just so sad that today we are seated almost around the same place, and this time discussing the passing away or the death of former President J.J. Rawlings. Very, very sad news. Very sad indeed. Very devastating news. But let's look at the timing of his death. First, I'd like to take it from the angle that he just buried his mother, and so he also passing on the impact on the family, having lost two significant individuals within almost the same period. Well, again, very sad. The mother was buried about 3 weeks or so ago, and I've read comments from places that have suggested that the mother's death could
so if you hold your thoughts for me, I have Victor Smith on phone. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Chief.
Our condolences to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Right. How did you get the news, and how hard did it hit you?
Well, thank you very much. Currently on a Ashanti regional tour with the former president, John Mahama. We were in Obuasi when the news broke. And it was indeed a sad visit, you know. Of course, eventually we all will pass one day, but he's such a strong personality.
Right.
Even though he was getting a little bit on in age, he wasn't that old to suddenly, go away. So that is the shock to me, you know. I mean, you would know that in recent times, of course, I stopped working with him a long time ago, but I was really saddened with that news. It hit me like a bullet. You know, how can he suddenly just go, you know, after burying his mother only recently?
Yeah.
So that's how bad it was for me. It was a sad event, you know, a sad news to, you know, to come to me at this time of the morning. So we're all trying to get to grips with a shock.
Right. Now, as a former spokesperson for the late Jerry Rawlings, what was it like working with him?
You know, I mean, even the fact that you refer to him as the late, you know, isn't it news to me? It's talking still.
Yeah.
That I never thought Rawlings to be late or be referred to as the late president. You know, it's still shocking me. But hey, listen, we all have to go one day. And like I said, he's such a strong personality, the surprise element. Working with him, he remains a very strong personality. He's very strong, very courageous. I think he really meant what he wanted for Ghana when he came on the scene. He wanted to see the good of Ghana. But somewhere along the line, of course, he signed the 1992 Constitution into law, and then it took a back seat. But from time to time, picking him, nobody, you know, even though in recent times we haven't been the best of friends because of what everybody knows, you know, when he decided that he had had enough me working with him because I was a stubborn person type of thing. But, you know, I still admired him. I was at the mother's funeral in Jerusalem and paid my respects to him. But that was the last time I saw him. I can say that it was instrumental in bringing Ghana this far away from coup d'etats. I believe he was the last one who did a coup d'etat in Ghana. We have been stable, even though sustainable progress has been eluding us, you know, on and off. But he played his part. He has played his part in stabilizing our country.
Well, indeed, he has. You have worked with him for a while. I'd like to find out what would be the magnitude of his demise, first on the African level and, of course, globally.
Globally, I don't know, because he's been out of the scene for a while. So globally, I think it was more like he had become, I would say domesticated, but he had become more on the local scene. When he was who he was, it was admired highly in most. We went here and at the time that he did what he did, in most schools,
it looks as though the network is bad, and so we're struck. Mr. Smith.
It was a force to reckon with.
Right, please go ahead.
He was bigger than life, if I can put it this way. Even within our own context, in our country. He's seen as a huge personality, a huge icon. There are those who dislike him, of course. You can't get everyone to like you. There are those who respected him or revered him. Others had their own views about how he did things and said things. We all know there are several footages, you guys might have some, where he has said things that was referred to as a boom. He says things, you know, and sometimes people see it as either unnecessary or as a troublemaker and all that. You know, so we all had our views about how he did things. But to be honest with you, this is a big blow. In Tree, they will say, Otupone Tutu. It's bigger than life. There's nothing anybody can take away from him in that respect. But now he's gone. So this is where we are.
Well, Mr. Agbo, once again, our condolences. Mr. Smith, Victor Smith, a former... Well, we're trying to reach him. We should be speaking to him shortly.
He, myself, Dr. Tony ADDO, and then Abu Dhabi are people who you would want to talk to.
Yes.
About this. I got to know him so well, you know, and in one such interview I said he was as human as any human being could be. And I never knew that about him until one day we got a sad news that a very close friend of his had passed. And I was with him in London in a taxi, and he broke down.
Right.
He was weeping uncontrollably. That was the first time I've seen him as human as all of us. I thought he would brave everything, but that he was broken. So he was very human, except that he had the courage to get this country going forward.
Indeed, he did. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Victor Smith, for your time. Once again, our condolences to you and, of course, all the friends or associates you work with under President Rawlings. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're still bringing you our exclusive coverage of the passing of former President Jerry Rawlings. We're going for a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll look at the possible outcomes or expectations within the next coming days. You're welcome back. This is our exclusive coverage of a rather unfortunate, rather sad incident, the passing of former President Jerry John Rawlings, which sad event occurred at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in the early hours of Thursday, November 12, 2020. Now, this wasn't expected. No one prepares for death. No one expects death to come at the time it does come, and so we are all taken aback. We are mourning with the family with the NDC and, of course, with the people of Ghana. Salom Adonu is in studio, and he is helping us look at some of the possible issues or outcomes that may arise following the demise of the former President Jerry John Rawlings. Now, we're looking at the timing of his death, especially after he had just buried his mother, Madame Victoria Agbotui, who, mind you, clocked 101 years here on earth. And so, the likely impact on the families or the close family of former President Jerry John Rawlings.
Well, so yes, very sad incident. So the mother, who many have said has been very influential in his own life, and indeed, if you go back to the tribute he read for his mom on the occasion of her burial or her funeral burial ceremony, you realize that Rawlings was very close to the mom, and what he is today, or what he was until his death, had a lot to ascribe to his mother and the values the mother instilled in him and things like that. So on the family, that certainly should be a big news. Rawlings alone dying in the family is huge. Now couple that with somebody who was huge in his life, the mother, very, very huge. So the Agbotui and Rawlings family should be right now very tattered. Their emotional configuration should be in such disarray. Very unfortunate. And indeed, those of us who are not even family people are just citizens of a country he led many years ago, close to 20 years ago, are badly hit. So, talking about emotions and how the family will be feeling now, it is just an imagination. But indeed, it will be, they'll be hardly hit, or the emotions they'll be feeling now will be very, very sad. The children, the wife, Nana Konido Ajima Rawlings herself, and how the bond between these two people has been, etc. This certainly should be a very, very sad day for them and for Ghana as well.
Indeed, I agree. Now, we've just received a press release from the office of the former president. I'd like to read through it briefly. It has the coat of arms up there, of course, and it says, Office of Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, retired, former president of the Republic of Ghana. Press release, and it's titled, President Rawlings Passes Away. It is with deep sadness that the family of His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, retired, informs the general public that the former president of the Republic passed away on Thursday morning after a short illness. The family requests privacy at this difficult moment. Details of funeral arrangements will be announced in due course. Now, this is signed by Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings, daughter of the late former president. And so, Salom, the family is requesting privacy at this time, but knowing who he is, a former president, long
court to say that they want absolute privacy, unless, of course, that privacy should be construed in terms of the fact that people will come up with things to distract the family, etc., but not to mourn with him or to visit them in their homes.
Because already we are seeing people mass up at the residence.
And security people, military people, being sent to the place to ensure that there is order, especially in this time that the family's emotional walls are broken. So that kind of privacy, I can understand that. You don't bring up things to distract the family. What has Rawlings done? Rawlings, he wasn't a good person, blah, blah, blah. Those unnecessary comments at this time, matters that will bring up things, debatable things. I think that is the kind of privacy that I think they are referring to. Privacy, not in terms of people coming to their homes to sympathize with the family. So that is to be expected. And given who Rawlings is, it will be difficult to close the door on people. People want to show their consent, who want to show their sympathies, pay their last respects, to who Rawlings has been to them. And we watch some of the videos. People saying that he gives them money every day, and Rawlings is that kind. Sometimes he wants a lot of money, not money to spend on himself, money to give to people, and he enjoys doing that. People who are in need come to him. So a lot of the people around him, when you watch and you look at him, the caliber of person he is, former president, etc., you expect him to be working with a certain high level people of high repute, high level people. But you go to him and there are people who society would describe as downtrodden people. These are the people he finds pleasure in and pleasure with. And these really are his base. So that is why he's able to get a lot of information from the ground. So he tells you that the ground is not good. This political activity you are going to undertake, the ground is not good. And a lot of the times he's right, because his networks on the ground are very solid and almost, you know, straight to the point and perfect. So it will be difficult to say people shouldn't go there, or of course, unless of course the privacy they are talking about is what I described earlier. But people will surely go to the house, people will surely mention his name, people will wail, people will cry, people will say all manner of things. But we are all hoping that this will not be a moment that will bring things that will divide us. This moment should unite us as a party, or as a country. You know, it is so important. And indeed, I think the president is shown from his statement that from all intents and purposes, that should be the way forward. So, for example, the statement says a number of things. The fact, I mean, respect and recognition. Exactly. The fact that, you know, flags are to fly at half-mast for the next 7 days. That is huge, and that is, you know, recognizing and respecting his memory. Exactly. The fact that the president and the vice president have suspended their campaign for the period, and indeed the NDC, the party that he founded, the flag bearer John Mahama, who is in Kumasi,
in the
Ashanti region, has also suspended his campaign. That is also a sign of respect to his memory. And another thing is a huge figure. So he says that the government, you know, will work with the family, or will be working with the family, you know, to come up, I mean, in terms of the preliminary funeral arrangements, and will inform the public. And clearly that is a state funeral, and he did state that they will inform the public on modalities of what the state funeral arrangement, etc. will be. So that is huge. That is Rawlings. And for so many years to come, Ghana is not going to have a person in the nature of Rawlings. Indeed, if our Fourth Republican Constitution and what it says is anything to go by, forever and ever in Ghana, we are not going to have any leader that will spend so long or so much time on the presidency, on the seat of the presidency like him. He spent 19 years, and now the most you can do under our current constitutional dispensation is 8. So you can't go as far as 19. So he leaves a very important, you know, place in the lives of Ghanaians and in the political, historical life of Ghana. You cannot write the history of Ghana without talking about Rawlings. His days as a young man coming on the heels of the AFRC, and the fact that before on May 15, he attempted a coup, he was arrested, undergoing trial, and how the whole nation was seated on, you know, tenterhooks, wanting to know what was happening, his public trials, and the kind of things he said, you know, fortifying people's belief and admiration and love for him. And then boom, June 4, Bwachijan and Co led another uprising, you know, toppling the government of the day. And then he shows up as a leader of that group, goes to the independent, the broadcasting house to make that announcement, you know, with his voice, you know, bellowing all over the place. I mean, that is Rawlings. You can't do anything about that legacy. And then how, you know, so after that, I mean, they gave way for the constitutional arrangement that was far advanced. The 1979 elections handed over to Liman after a year or two. I mean, not happy with what Liman was doing, in his view, debatable, but in his view, he came back on 31st December and then led the country till January 7, 1993. And within that period, I think he did a lot to stabilize the country. Within that period, we had the longest period of stability as a country. Prior to that was just Kwame Nkrumah staying on from 1957 to 66, you know, about 9 years. Then we had the periods of military intervention and very short democratic era.
Short-lived,
you know, his 19 years, or should I say 11 years stay in power as a military head of state gave a lot of stability to the country. Ghana's, you know, borders were secured. We had a few coup attempts, etc. But none of those coup attempts succeeded in toppling him, giving Ghana stability, giving Ghana respect in the sub-region, giving Ghana some recognition, to the extent that a lot of people from other countries came to learn from him and to learn from his approach to governance, etc. So these are things he has, and legacies. When it was time to transition to democracy, he allowed it, and to a large extent, we owe what we experience in Ghana today, Ghana being called a beacon of democracy, to a large extent, we owe that to him. I was having a discussion with somebody earlier today that if Rawlings had disagreed, I mean, what could anybody do? Because we have examples of him all around the world. I mean, prior to even this coming, we had examples in Yadema who stayed on, even though he called himself a kind of Democrat, because he held elections. He won those elections. Those elections were actually flawed. He stayed on till when he had to stay on, and he left exactly when he had to leave. That is remarkable. So if Rawlings hasn't done anything at all, the fact that he helped the country transition peacefully into democracy, and when he had to leave the scene after his constitutional or mandatory 8 years, constitutional 8 years in office, he left peacefully without any qualms. He left peacefully and handed over power not to his chosen person, but to an opponent, from somebody from
the largest
from another political party, and somebody people have called his political enemy, John Kufuor. So I think that alone is giving Ghana a place. It made Ghana recognized as one of the first countries in Africa to transfer power from one democratically elected government to the other. You know, so these are things we can remember Rawlings for. Hugely influential in his time, and indeed, I mean, the rural folks who often are his or were his base will be hardly hit. Well, all of us, you know, have been fans of him at one point in time or the other, and we are all sad. And indeed, as the president's statement said, a big tree has fallen, and Ghana is the poorer for it. Very, very sad and unfortunate incident.
Indeed, and also the timing of his death. I mean, we've touched on his mother's passing as well, but then we have just about 25 days into a major election, general elections. Now, from the president's statement, he's called off campaigning for 7 days. John Mahama has also called off, suspended his campaign. Now, for how long, we do not know. But mind you, we have just 25 days going into the election. The likely impact of the passing of the president, and of course the events of the coming days, the impact on the 2020 general elections.
So we have about 25 days to election. If you take the 7 days out, we'll be mourning out of that. You have about 18 days, which is just a few days. You know,
we have just about 2 weeks in November and about 6 days in December.
So certainly that will be huge. Of course, I understand that the NDC and the MPP in the Eastern region are looking up to their party leadership in Accra to tell them what to do next. And the situation is going to be so across the country, because if we suspended campaigns, what do we do? Do we just sit down and wait or we campaign underground? I mean, I'm sure word will get to them and they'll know what to do. But it's huge. And the question is, I mean, about the timing. The last time we saw something as huge as this was in 2012, when in July also when former President Atta Mills died. That was totally different from this, because he was a sitting president. That was the first time a thing like that had happened in Ghana, and the atmosphere in the country was very bad. Now we are entering another election, and such an iconic figure passes on less than a month to time. Will it affect the elections? I think a lot will depend on the conduct of the two parties right now. Will the NDC or will the party benefit from this? Well, it's too early to tell, but the NDC or a party may benefit from this depending on how they handle issues. So, for example, the NDC could say, of course, we know that there are some factions or divisions in the NDC. A group thinks that this is not the direction we thought the party would take. Another group thinks that we are the new people, that this is the new direction, because things are changing in the world, so we can't keep doing things the other way. This is the way to go, because the party must move on. You know, there is that division. I don't know whether to call it ideological or not, but there is that division. I think it is time for the NDC, for example, to say that let this unite us. It's unfortunate, but as unfortunate as it may be, let us see what we can gain from this. Let this unite us, so that if nothing at all, let us win this election and dedicate that victory to Rawlings. And if that message is sent powerfully and is sent strong enough, perhaps it may rally members of the party together, so they give up their best. Giving up their best means they will go out having this in mind to campaign and see what can happen.
But let's not forget he survived by a wife who is also flag bearer of another party.
Yes, but the NDC is a bigger gainer or loser in this than the DFP, the NDP. The NDP really is insignificant, and I don't even know how the wife now, who is the widow and the flag bearer on the ticket of a party, I don't know how she's going to be campaigning. So I don't know what that will mean for the chances of the party. They already deemed chances of the party. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know whether she will say, okay, just as we've seen other parliamentary widows of parliamentary people do, parliamentary candidates do. I mean, after a few days, they become candidates themselves, and so they hit the campaign trail. I don't know whether we're going to see anything like that, to the extent that she will also mourn for like 7 days, as the president and maybe John Mahama are doing. After the 8th day, then he will hit the ground. I don't know what that will mean for I mean, culturally. I don't know what that will mean.
Knowing how fond they were of each other, I think that would be the least of the expectations.
So I don't know if it would be fine to say, or fair to say, that her campaign has been brought to an abrupt end. I don't know how she's going to go around the country in the midst of this campaigning, when people are waiting to see you in the house, international delegation. A lot of people will be coming to visit you. I don't know how she's going to be going around the country, you know, from village to village, hamlet to hamlet, wanting to campaign to be president. I mean, given the fact that the chances already were deemed. The MPP, yes, the president, for the MPP to benefit from this, I think the president must show a lot of leadership. The party must be magnanimous. And in the last few years or many months, the president and the Rawlings household, or Rawlings himself, you know, they've been good friends. I mean, we've seen them do things together, very cordial relationship. And people have even criticized Rawlings for not, you know, taking on the Akufo-Addo administration. I mean, it tells you that there is some relationship between them, and the Rawlings household appears happy with Nana Addo, to the extent that the government, the MPP government or the Nana administration, elected Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings to lead the government delegation to South Africa when Winnie Mandela died, you know, and things that are little gestures like that tells us that they appear to be happy with themselves. So the president's statement says it all. The president takes it seriously. He considers it as an important thing, and he must rise to the occasion. And I think he's risen to the occasion now. What remains to be seen is how they will conduct themselves, how they will carry out events leading to the burial. I don't know when the family will decide to bury him, whether they want to do it quickly before the election, which is just in some 25 days, which is highly improbable, or they will want to do it after the election, so that they will, whichever administration that will emerge after the election will organize that funeral. And then talking about that, the NDC could go around and say, we want to bury our founder, so let us win that election. When we win that election, we'll give our founder a very befitting burial. You know, so yes, a lot to depend. But for the NDC, I think what this will mean to them, or should mean to them, is unity. They should rally round, tell themselves that we want to be the ones to preside over the state funeral or state burial of our founder. And so let's go all out and win this election. The MPP is in a very interesting place. All they can do, or the president can do, is to show leadership, is to assist the family as much as they can. But whether this death affects them directly in terms of the votes they will get or lose, it's a bit hazy. Not so sure about that.
A sad day indeed for Ghanaians and the world at large, but we're looking at a man that has served his country for 19-20 years, and we want to look at the various eras. So let's look at Rawlings after, say, 2012. He wasn't the typical vociferous Rawlings we knew. Some say he became more of a statesman after quitting active politics. Your take on Rawlings after 2012, where we won't see him commenting on any and every matter, where he chose to pick particular topics to speak about?
Well, Rawlings has had his courses, he's had things he's been interested in. In the past, we saw him talk so much on corruption, especially in the John Kufuor era and in the John Mahama, in the John Mills era. We saw him talk a bit about corruption and the fact that persons who he suspected or he thought were corrupt should be prosecuted. And the fact that that prosecution or that process was slow made him fall out with John Mills, and so said quite a number of things about him, and that did not augur well with their relationship. So they fell out, and that's now public information. After 2012, I mean, that was when John Mahama came on the scene. Right. I think what happened was in the first few months of John Mahama's presidency, from August to December, people generally thought that he tried to tame Rawlings, or he handled Rawlings well. Yeah. And indeed, Rawlings made a comment, was it at the program to endorse John Mahama as candidate for the 2012 elections, that something he'd been calling for every time John Mahama had done it, by fixing some street lights on some part of the Sugakope Road also, where criminals always hid. Yeah. And that made him happy, and he publicly said that at that program. Yeah, so
that's the road to his place,
yes,
going to Tefle.
Yes, Tefle. Yeah. So people thought that that one and a few other gestures made John Mahama keep him, quiet, because you needed him to be quiet. Yeah. If you don't have him supporting you, you also don't want to have him criticizing you. I think that's what Nana Akufo-Addo has done quite well. But into the NDC administration, John Mahama's administration, I think he began becoming unhappy about quite a few things. And in his usual fashion, he will say a few things. I mean, he really doesn't care how it comes out on you. Exactly. It may not be very complimentary. But given that he was the founder of the NDC, comments he made criticizing the government were taken seriously by the opposition, because your founder will not criticize you if you're not doing badly, and things like that. Rawlings, very iconic, very charismatic, and very influential in how he does his things. I remember in one of those when NDC won the 2008 election, the party went to him in his house. I remember covering that event under the tree to thank him for the way he supported the party, campaigning all over. Then they had the three-pronged approach, the three Johns. So you have John Mahama then as running mate, dealing with a certain aspect of the campaign. You had John Mills, the candidate himself, dealing also with a certain aspect of the campaign. And he, John Rawlings, also dealing with a certain aspect of the campaign. And they spread themselves across the country. And that was quite an exciting campaign to watch. So after they won, they went to him, led by the Johnson Asedun Ketia, and I think the party chairman, to thank him for his role in their victory. And he said quite a few things to them about what he expected and things like that. And that was a very frank discussion they had, which was in the media around the time, etc. In 2009, after they came into office and the government, had been formed, some names had come up which were good, other names came up people didn't think were very good. I remember meeting him at was it a National Executive Council meeting or Functional Executive Council meeting at the Teshi area hotel there. And so once he came out, journalists went in to ask him about a few things, and we put a question to him about the quality of the people that were in government now. I mean, the ministers vetted, etc. And he said some of them were good, but some of them were mediocre. And that statement about mediocrity he made, stole the headlines and became a subject of discussion for many, many, many days. So that is Rawlings for you.
That came to him easily.
Very easily.
He'll give you a headline instantly.
He'll just talk to you, give you a headline. If you know how to get a headline from him, you always get that. I also covered him a few times. I remember even in 2008, before the elections, he was receiving a delegation in his office, and that was when Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman Rawlings made that comment that Nana Akufo-Addo wasn't a lawyer, and he sitting there, he jumped in his seat and was so shocked. But of course, eventually that has been proven as false. Yeah. So he was such an interesting figure. Yeah. Like I said before, we will not have any person of his caliber in the next, so many years. That is Rawlings, and it's indeed an era which has come to an end. And I'm happy that I saw his presidency, though maybe I did not really understand a lot of things when he was president. But I'm happy I saw him as president, and I'm happy I lived through his regime as well.
Right. So let's look at the man whose demise will have the media, will have the world talking at least until the 2020 general elections. Now, born Jerry Rawlings John in June of 1947, the 22nd of June 1947. He is a former Ghanaian military leader and a subsequent politician, having served Ghana for 20 years from 1981 to 2001. He also served briefly in 1979. He led a military junta until 1992 and then served 2 terms as a democratically elected president. Rawlings initially came to power in Ghana as flight lieutenant of the Ghana Air Force following a coup d'etat in 1979. Now, prior to that, he led an unsuccessful coup attempt against the ruling military government on 15 May 1979, just 5 weeks before scheduled democratic elections were due to take place. Now, after initially handing power over to a civilian government, he took back control of the country on the 31st of December 1981 as the chairman of the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC. And in 1992, Rawlings resigned from the military, founded the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and became the first president of the Fourth Republic. He was re-elected in 1996 for 4 more years. After 2 terms in office, the limit according to the Ghanaian constitution, Rawlings endorsed his vice president, John Atta Mills, as a presidential candidate in 2000. Unfortunately, they lost that election to John Ajekun Kufuor of the NPP, who went on to rule for the next 8 years. Now, in November of 2000, Mr. Rawlings was named the first International Year of Volunteers 2001 eminent person by then UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, attending various events and conferences to promote volunteerism, where he established a constitution of 1988 then. And in October of 2010, Rawlings was named African UN Envoy to Somalia. He has given lectures at various universities, including the Oxford University. He has continued his support for the NDC. In July of 2019, he went on a 3-day working trip to Burkina Faso in the capacity of chairman of the Thomas Sankara Memorial Committee. In September of 2019, he paid a tribute on behalf of the president and people of Ghana when he led a delegation to the funeral of Robert Mugabe, the late former president of Zimbabwe. In July of 2019, yes, he represented a Ghana on a working visit to the Thomas Sankara Memorial Committee. And so that's the man we have there, unfortunately, passing on in the early hours of November 12, 2020, Jerry John Rawlings. So, Salom, I mean, it is expected that we're going to see delegations troop into the residence. I mean, locally and internationally, we're going to see a number of tributes also pour in. Already we've seen some on social media. Now, we expect that the international community will also come in knowing the kind of person he was and how outspoken he was on international matters as well.
Yeah, surely. I mean, when something like this happens, you have asketisy, tributes from from your friends or allies abroad. So yes, that is to be expected. A lot of that will also go to the president. A lot of people will express their condolences to the president because he's the president of the country on behalf of, their family, the Rawlings family. So a lot of that will happen. Delegations or persons who are able to make it into the country will want to visit his home and also commiserate with the wife and immediate family. And all those things are to be expected, and all those things will surely happen. But in terms of his global appeal, yes, the global appeal would have been at an all-time high if he was still in office. Yeah. But now he's been about 20 years out of office. And he's done a few international engagements, etc. But for a lot of people, they may not even remember him. A lot of people outside Ghana may not even remember him. And indeed, even in our country, persons who are 20 years and below, like persons who are in first year or second year in the university, did not even have, any feel of Rawlings at all, not even when they were born. They never had any experience whatsoever. When they were born, it was John Kufuor who was, about the time John Kufuor was president. So even in Ghana, his influence and his experience will be amongst people who are maybe 25 years and over, because he left power about 20 years ago. Maybe 5 years, you will be too young to be politically aware or to know what's happening. So people above 25 years are people who have any sense of any experience they might have had with him. So a lot of what the younger generation will know or will hear about him will be what they read in books or the stories that they are told and news reports, etc. So even in Ghana, that difficulty amongst the youthful population is there. So internationally, it will be people who have dealt with him, and he's very popular in Nigeria because of the so-called killing of the generals and the former heads of state thing. The Nigerians feel that was the kind of thing that was needed in their country at the time to cleanse the system or to clean the system. Whether that approach worked or is the way to go is a whole debate for another day. But Nigerians think that they needed a leader like Rawlings at that time, so they hold him in very high esteem. He's very, very, very popular in Nigeria, and I've met Nigerians even outside Ghana talk about him in very fond terms. So I'm sure people in Nigeria will also be shocked at this news. They will also be hurt because Rawlings, as he is our icon, is an icon there as well.
All right, so the story so far, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, Ghana's longest serving president, has passed on at age 73. He passed on at exactly 10 minutes after 10 a.m. on November 12, 2020 at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after a short illness. Now, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, has issued a statement confirming this and declaring 7 days of mourning. He's also ordered that flags be flown at half-mast across the country, and then was also called off or suspended his campaign and that of his Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. He's also put out there that the state will be engaging the family and, of course, will inform the general public as to the next steps with regards to the burial or the funeral of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings. Now, flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, who was on tour in the Ashanti region, has also called off that campaign due to the demise of the former President Jerry John Rawlings. We've received a statement from the office of the late president, signed by his daughter and Member of Parliament for Clote Kole, Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings, also confirming the death of the former president and asking for some level of privacy as the family mourns the demise of the late president, the former president, in these difficult times. We've received a short statement from the Speaker of Parliament also. Let me read it briefly. It says, Speaker Professor Michael Quay, the leadership and membership of Parliament and the Clerk of Parliament have learnt with utmost sadness the passing of former President, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings on Thursday, November 12, 2020. President Rawlings was the former President of the Fourth Republic. His contribution to our current democratic dispensation cannot be glossed over. His passing is indeed a great loss to our republic. May he find eternal rest. Well, I started this exclusive coverage with the host of the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM, Bernard Avle. We crossed over to Umaru Sanda, host of Eyewitness News, who brought us live pictures or live coverage from the Ridge residence of the late former president. Then, of course, we spoke to our correspondents from across the country to have a feel of the mood in various areas. Salom Adonu, head of features and articles here at City FM and City TV, also joined in with his own perspectives of who the man Jerry John Rawlings was. My name is Nanatufo Boateng. Many thanks for your time.
Check the celebration there. Again to the first one. Another goal. The celebration there. Again to the first one. Another goal.
Lovely afternoon. We are back again. This be Football Made in Ghana. My name be Fenjo Tahir Fenjo. This be the GPL preview show edition. We go look ahead to all of the weekend's matches in the Ghana Premier League. The Ghana Premier League is back. Big matches everywhere you look. Of course, there is a small matter of the Black Stars against Sudan match where we could get underway and get out of the way very, very shortly at the beginning of the show. But today, when our focus will be on the Ghana Premier League matches where they come up this weekend. Plenty of games. Hearts of Folk, they go Doma. What be the story there? What's the history there? What are they taking there? Kumasi Asante Kotoko. They play 11 wonders. We could talk to you about Kotoko the season so far. Inter Allies, them too, they go play Monday Night Football against Dreams FC. Then they prepare. We go visit them too. We get some report from there, give you. We get some report from Dreams FC, give you. We get plenty things to really talk about here on Football Made in Ghana. So make go anywhere because the show be packed, like extremely packed. Well, today I got some special guests. Last time I bring woman for the show top here, the more of you really vibe to Amwa. So today I bring in another woman where we go look at the Ghana Premier League season going forward. This be Football Made in Ghana. As usual, I said they like talk, the show be your own. The number there, your screen top, it be +233 550 585 That be how you go send message or you go reach me. We go talk about all of the things we go talk about today. Make I know which Ghana Premier League team where you they look